Heavy rain, lightning and thunder, parked in the luxury car on the side of the road, but burning ambiguous green. Narrow space, the man was holding her up like a tireless satiety, ruthlessly won her over and over again. Don't mind a Shunki despair. And then the whole person woke up from a dream. Why did she dream about that day again? And her heart seemed to be pulled, causing her body to quiver with pain. She looked up at the strange room around her and reacted for a while, before she realized that tonight was her wedding night. This is her new house. At the thought of this, Shunki lowered her eyes, and her long thick eyelashes covered the emotions in her eyes. She laughed in a low voice, which seemed to be a light sneer into sorrow. A few days ago, I just experienced a betrayal and derailment divorce. And today I was sold to another person by my parents in a flash. I can't believe that what her parents and sisters say is a broken flower and a broken willow. It can not only get a huge dowry for the family, but also marry instead of my sister. Marry this man with disabled legs, violent and moody, but he is also the most powerful man in North City. Suddenly, the door opened, and Shunki was so tense that she suddenly covered herself with a quilt, holding her quilt corner tightly. The sound of the wheelchair rubbing the floor gradually became clear, and Shunki didn't dare to go out. Through the darkness, you can see a figure getting closer and closer to yourself. When the body approached, it was still cold. Shunki was surprised and found that her feet were still exposed outside the quilt. And at this moment, a big hand suddenly came over and grabbed her feet tightly. Because of the shock, the white jade minus-like little feet curled up tightly, and 5 pink little toes gathered together desperately. Just when she was at a loss, a man's light laughter suddenly came from above her head, like a cello, with irresistible charm. Stop. Stop. Shunki finally caught hold of his big hand. She shivered so badly that she stumbled and said, "There are a few nights. Can you stop doing this?" "I can't." Shunki, a rigid body, through to people shaking hands, can obviously feel her trembling. Such a green reaction is really like it. Hearing his words, Shunki's pupil on the bed suddenly contracted. A man's eyebrows and eyes are sharp and deep as a wolf's eye pupil, and his thin lips are pinched like a knife. Although he is in a wheelchair, he still has a low air pressure, which makes him a world of his own, and no one can get close to him. Shunha. She was originally married to the night home instead of Shunyi, so naturally she dared not reveal her identity. Nighting Hin came thus much a few minutes cold. He took out an envelope from his pocket and threw it in front of Shunki. Shunki out carefully picked it up and opened it, only to find that there was a photo of her sister Shunyi. It seems that he has checked all the information about the person he is going to marry. It's just that why didn't he say anything at the wedding? Shunki's hand holding the envelope was tight for a few minutes. She bit her lower lip, and her eyes like black glass looked emotion at night quietly. Shenyang thinks that if I have a leg disease at night, I can just find someone to prevaricate me. Shunki lowered his eyes and whispered, "I'm also the daughter of the Shen family, a newly divorced daughter." Is the Shenyang family using the night home as a recycling station? Nighting Hin eyes cold so again. Ironic and straightforward words remind Shunki of the nightmare night a month ago, biting his lower lip tightly to remind him of the pain. Don't lose your temper before she calms down. The man's cold voice is like a pot of cold water again. You have 5 minutes to get out of the house at night. What? Shunki suddenly lifted his eyes and crashed into his black eyes. If she is driven away, the Shenyang family will certainly offend the Night family. The whole family pinned their hopes on her. And even if she didn't watch Shenyang lose in her own hands, after a pause, Shunki summoned up the courage to look him in the eye and said, "I know this is also a marriage arranged by your parents. It is the same for you to marry anyone. Otherwise you would not agree to this marriage. Let me stay. I promise we don't see each other." Talk. Shunki raised his hands to ensure that his eyes were full of firmness, but his white face was cautious, fearing that he would not accept it. This way Nighting porched squinting. "Finally, the Nighting pavilion evokes my thin lips. Do you want to stay so much?" Seeing his smiling expression, Shunki's heart thumped and he had a bad feeling, but he nodded his head. Nighting porched corners of the mouth with contempt. For this kind of woman to replace his sister and marry into the night home cover 12, it is not the first time he saw. Staring fixedly at the person on the bed, he opened his lips and said, "I'll give you a chance to stay." Hear the devil's words from men please me. Shunki stared blankly in the local, incredible staring at the man beside the bed. Why, don't you understand? Yimo Zhuang sneered, "Don't tell me that a second-minus married woman doesn't know how to please a man yet." Hearing his words, Shunki clenched his fists mercilessly. Xiang Linzhang did have a 2-year marriage, but the other party never touched her on the pretext of being busy. Until that night a month ago, she bumped into Linzhang, an enchanting pregnant woman, and her nightmare began to talk. From that moment, each other's silence obviously made Nighting Hin lost patience. Stretched out his hand and tore off the front of the bedding. Shunki frantically grabbed the quilt to cover his body and wrapped himself in a ball like a bully rabbit, although the attractive scenery is fleeting. The eyes of the Nighting pavilion are a little dark and the cold voice is a little hoarse, but they still sneer at the opening. The design of the pure white rabbit is not suitable for you. If you can't do it, get out. After that, he turned to leave with a wheelchair. Wait. Looking at the cold and heartless back of Yimo Zhuang, Shunki was so anxious that he got out of bed wrapped in a quilt and shouted at the back of Yimo Zhuang, "Why are you doing torturing me since you can? Why don't we live in peace?" Her words. Let the Nighting porch combined with a wheelchair paused. He didn't move, but his head turned slightly, and the corner of his eye was cold. And his voice seemed to come from hell. "Who can't you say?" Nighting porched dangerous eyes like a beast stung in the dark. It seems that as long as Shunki say one more word, he will immediately jump up and bite you to death. What's going on here? Obviously, he is a person with light disease. Nighting Chuan has adjusted the direction of the wheelchair back, slowly approaching her side. His eyes are like paint, and his eyes are black. Shunki, wrapped in a quilt, subconsciously took 2 steps back. Night Zhuang, who is in a wheelchair, has reached her. In front of him, he moved quickly, raised his hand and buckled her thin white wrist, waving away her boarded bedding. Shunki just frankly sat down on his lap. "You just said who can?" Sharp eyes gripped her. "The outside world is not rumored that you can't do that." Shunki panicked and his hands didn't know where to hide. "He let me go," suddenly approached, which made Shunki panic, and his fiery male breath surrounded her. Fierce, overbearing and dangerous. This kind of feeling reminds Shunki of the man in the car at that time, and so does his breath. As overbearing as the people in front of you. Shunki turned white for a few minutes, and she will never forget that shameful night. After witnessing her husband's betrayal, she was suddenly caught in the car by a man when she was lost in the street, and then things got completely out of control. Her first time was taken away in such a desperate night. And she didn't even see who the man was. "Do you want to be a wife that night by any means?" The male voice ringing in my ears pulled Shunki's mind back, and then she was stiff. Shunki suddenly sweated on his forehead, covered his chest with one hand and pushed him away with the other. "Let me go first." "Oh, why emotion? Why are you so nervous? Have you never done such a thing?" Shunki stubbornly looked at him. "Don't deceive others too much," I said. "You can stay and please me." Shunki turned pale and his lips trembled. Looking at his irrefutable eyes, Shunki felt a horizontal heart, trying to throw away all the shame, so she showed herself all in front of men. Suddenly, a feeling of nausea came. "Oh," Shunki uncontrolled retching. Emotion held her chin with one hand, and the whole body broke out in horror. "I make you sick like this?" No, Shunki doesn't know whether it is painful or urgent. In Tian falls short after all she has done. She must succeed in staying at home at night, unjust. Without giving her another chance to explain, Emotion pushed her away. "I am even more disgusted with a woman like you who wants to build a memorial arch as a bit." Who fell to the ground in a mess without looking, turned and pushed the wheelchair to leave at night. Looking at the nighting porch leave a figure, Shunki gently biting his lower lip. He didn't mention letting himself leave the night home again, so can she stay? Wrapped up the quilts and went back to bed. Nothing happened. Shunki was relieved. "So I thought that Mojwan at night should acquiesce to her proposal minus nominal husband and wife irrelevant." Shunki changed his clothes and went downstairs. A group of servants were busy. I was just about to ask them where the kitchen was when my feet suddenly stretched out. Kanki staggered, and immediately rushed forward uncontrollably. Just as she was about to get in close contact with the earth, a pair of big hands lifted her up in time. Shunki looked up in shock and crashed into a pair of jade minus-like eyes. "Are you okay, sister minus and minus law? Sister-in-law, I'm Mojwan's eldest brother. And my name is Liang Hong. The night is cold and gentle." Before Shunki could answer, a cold voice suddenly sounded. "It seems that I have come at a bad time." The voice Shunki looked down at the past. Xiaosu pushed the nighting porch in a wheelchair, and the nighting porch was in a wheelchair with a thin blanket over her legs. Although he is in a wheelchair, he looks like a king. His eyes were cold and fell on Shunki's face like a blade. Shunki couldn't help shaking. Only then did I find myself still in the arms of the cold night, and I quickly stepped back to keep my distance from him, feeling guilty. "Keep your head down quietly. Mojwan, it's rare to see you at home. The night is still cold to my younger brother." Still smiling, however, Yi Mojwan was different from him. He didn't even have an expression on his face, but nodded faintly. "Big brother, while the eldest brother won't bother you and your siblings." When the night was cold, he looked at Shunki and said gently, "Sister-in-law, eldest brother has to go to the company." Shunki just nodded and watched the night chill away. Just as she was about to take back her eyes, she heard the nighting porch beside her sarcastically say, "A divorced woman is so hungry, can't wait to seduce men." Hearing this, Shunki suddenly came to her senses. Lighting porch eyes dark, found us a shadow. Shunki feel his rage is very heavy. Shunki bit his lower lip. "I'm not as dirty as you think." "Really?" Nighting porch lip angle with a smile very ironic. "Didn't put her in the eye, but just divorced. Can't wait to find a woman in the second spring. Is it really not dirty?" Shunki clenched fists, I'm angry. Is she looking for the second spring herself? She was forced. "You better keep your promise and have nothing to do with the people at night. If I find out what you are doing outside in the name of the Night family, or what you are doing to the people of the Night family, I will make your life worse than death." Xiaosu pushed the nighting porch and left. A maid came up to her and said, "Second mistress, our father wants to see you." "Is it the grandfather of the Night family?" Shunki and Trent's nervous. Mom said before that none of the Night family had seen Shengyu, so they dared to let her marry Shengyu so impudently. Now he wants to see her, so he won't be caught, will he? "Second mistress, please come in." The maid's attitude was very humble. Shunki said thank you to her and went into the study stiffly. The study and her imagination. Almost classical ornaments and bookshelves, on which all kinds of calligraphy and painting are put, are solemn and solemn. Just looking at it, Shunki immediately withdrew his eyes and looked at the people in the room. Old man. Shunki's eyes on the old man at home last night were gripped by his shrewd eyes. Night he is looking at her. Shunki thought of his identity. Suddenly became nervous, and what he lowered at a loss for fear that he would see his guilty conscience at night. Nighting porch there she is done for the time being. But he found that she is not really Shengyu all night. What shall we do then? Shunki raised his head in a conditioned way, looked at the old man's eyes and then lowered his head quickly. The old man's eyes are sharp at night, and his words are also very serious. "Mojwan has been in poor health since he was a child. Since you have married him, you should take good care of him in the future. What should I do without teaching you? I know, from tomorrow on, you will work with Mojwan as his assistant." Hearing this, Shunki raised his eyes in surprise, but it settled. "You will go with Mojwan to work tomorrow and never leave." Don't give Shunki refused time. Night home he decided directly, waved and let her leave. Shunki, although depressed, decided to quit his original job and listen to his father's arrangement. The night master directly stepped forward to let the nighting porch take her to the company. "If you don't ask for an assistant, I know what you are worried about, but now that Shengyu is your wife, let her follow you and take care of you." The tone of the old man talking to the nighting porch is still right. When she was the same, she felt a little strange. What happened? She thought the father and grandson would have a good relationship. Is thinking Shunki felt a sharp line of sight fell on his face. "Don't want to know who it is." Yi Mojwan stared at her mockingly. Shunki was a little surprised. She thought he would refuse. Night Mojwan sat in a wheelchair with no expression. Xiao soon nodded at the old man. Night old man, let's go to the company first. Shunki had to follow behind the nighting porch. When he left the hall and arrived at the garden, Yi Mojwan sneered and said, "Had you made good relations with the old man so soon? Want to spy on me?" Shunki steps, show eyebrows screwed up. "I don't know what you're talking about." "Oh, why?" Yi Mojwan sneered aloud. "You'd better never understand." Otherwise, why Yi Mojwan didn't continue to say the following words. But Shunki knew that it was a naked threat. He quit his job because of him, and he had to follow his ass all day. Originally agreed to be irrelevant, but now they are forcibly tied together. and she is not willing to. Silent all the way to the gate, the nighting porch in a wheelchair was sent to the car. Shenki subconsciously want to follow, bent down to go in, but don't want to. Jiaosu stretched out his hand and stopped her. Miss Shenteng, this is our night car. What do you mean? Night Mo Zhuang turned to look at her, and there was a mocking color in those commenty pies. Want to be me? Assistant, you are not qualified. Then why did you promise Grandpa just now? Night Mo Zhuang no longer spoke to her and withdrew her cold eyes. Jiaosu was ready to close the door with a straight face. What should I do? Grandpa mentioned the old man at night. Then the nighting porch flashed off in his eyes. Jiaosu reported the route to her with a straight face, and then turned off the car coldly. Nighting porch Langley eyes through the rearview mirror to see the petite figure standing at the door. Just a glance he withdrew his eyes. Move, have you heard from the woman I asked you to find? Referring to this incident, Jiaosu replied apologetically. There was little night, and the road was not monitored. It happened that it rained heavily that day, and it was too dark to see passers-by. However, if you give me a little more time, I believe I can find out. The nighting Zhuang's breath was a little cold again. He had a sharp peak in his eyebrows. A month, if you have the heart to design. That woman should be pregnant at this time. Jiaosu was surprised. A woman with unknown name and appearance was pregnant with a baby at night? Jiaosu expression serious. I see. I will arrange someone to pay attention to the trend of the hospital. He never touched a woman, and the woman that night was the first, so we must find her. It took Shengki half an hour to get to Yes High Group. I spent a long time with the front desk security guard, and finally got on the elevator with the help of the cold night. Go out to the right and walk to the end. I have other things to do, so I won't accompany you there. Can I find my way? Hearing this, Shengki nodded quickly. Well, thank you. Big brother, you're welcome. Looking at the back of his departure, Shengki couldn't help shaking his head with emotion. They were all born by the same parents. Why is one so gentle and the other so annoying? Shengki took a deep breath and resigned himself to the end. Finally I saw the office door. Shengki stretched out his hand and was just about to knock at the door. The door actually opened directly, and an unknown object was pushed out. Shengki dodged, was hit red-handed, and sank down on the floor. The unidentified object fell with her. Night Mo Zhuang, how can you do this to me? Shengki realized that it was a woman who had just hit her with heavy makeup but didn't fit her shirt. People. She quickly got up after falling, pointing to the people inside and cursing aloud. Night Mo Zhuang's tall figure is sitting in a wheelchair. His eyes are dark and frightening, his body exudes a strong gas fuel, and his thin lips slightly open. Get out. You. The woman was so angry that her fingertips trembled. Night Zhuang, who do you think you are? If you are not the second young master of the Night family, do you think this young lady can value you? I actually refused me several times. The Night Mo Zhuang, who was scolded for being disabled, suddenly turned cold and had a deep rage. Just when the woman wanted to put a few more malicious words, Shengki suddenly got up and said, even if my ink pavilion is incomplete, don't you come eagerly to post it. Now you can't eat grapes and say that grapes are sour? As soon as the words fell, the enchanting woman who was ridiculed turned her anger to Shengki and pointed to her sharp opening. Who are you? Is it your turn to talk here? Shengki smiled, raised his hand, and suddenly gave each other a slap. Pa grunched in the corridor. The enchanting woman is unbelievable. Burying his face in the ground, how dare you hit me? Pa, in exchange for another loud slap. Even wearing flat shoes and plain face at this time. Shengki's gas field is 1.8 meters, holding her chin high and looking at the woman who was beaten. I am Mo Zhuang's wife. Seducing my husband in front of the original match, and you treat me as dead, seeing that the other party was still unwilling to point at himself. Don't roll. Do you want me to ask the security guard to strip you naked and throw you on the road? You have to call the security guard if you take out your mobile phone on airs. You. The woman awkwardly covered her swollen face, unwilling to say before leaving, you wait, I will let you kneel and indict me sooner or later. Shengki raised her hand on airs and tried to hit her, scaring the other party to flee immediately. Watching the little white rabbit who was passive in front of him, and you suddenly changed her personal appearance. The nighting porch looked at her eyes and the light deepened a little. There was scrutiny and exploration, and she still had feelings that she couldn't understand until Shengki turned to look at it. Nighting porch immediately resumed its cold appearance and spoke without ups and downs. I underestimated you. Shengkai shrugged dismissively. Although we are nominal, we are husband and wife. As a wife, how can you allow other women to seduce and slander their husbands? The words that the other party should have made the nighting porch stun for a few seconds. She immediately sneered coldly. Oh, the second married woman has a lot of experience, and it is really smooth to call a husband. The mocking words made Shengki wrinkle up eyebrows. After thinking of the task assigned to him by the old man, Shengki stepped behind Mo Zhuang, grabbed his wheelchair and said, well, I have come by myself as you asked. Should you keep your promise? Shengki pushed him inside and asked, what do you need me to do? Night Mo Zhuang didn't answer, but his aura became strong and forced people to get up. He sneered, it seems that you really don't know how to write dead words. Shengkai pursed her lips. I don't want to be your assistant either. But this is what Grandpa meant. What are you doing with him? Deep voice is full of the taste of danger. Is it not good to be considerate of each other? Shengki noticed some confusion in the office and some files were lost on the ground, which should be caused by the woman who left just now. Thinking of this, she squatted down to pick up the file and put it on the desktop after finishing it. Nighting Chuan looked at this series of actions. Eyes become Yinji. It's a joke that a vain woman, who is also the old man's eyeliner, should be moved by her previous behavior. What she did was just a way to get close to herself. I have to say, this woman, the number of paragraphs is better than those before. Jiaosu just came in at this time. Jiaosu eyes paused. I didn't think she actually came over. Nighting Porch wanted Jiaosu to push him to leave directly, but suddenly thought of something. With a sharp flash in the dark eyes, want to be an assistant. In the conference room, Shengki followed the Ying Porch at night and went in. So everyone is speculating about the relationship of this woman. Shengki is not an assistant, but he has never seen a big scene like this. The meeting room of Yes High Group is particularly large. After all, it is the leader group of Bi Chen. Shengki's shoulders unconsciously low a few minutes, except all kinds of eyes behind Jiaosu and Nighting Kjia. Night manager, who is this? As a vice president of Shi's group, He himself was in the meeting, and he was a little surprised to see Shunki come in. Shunki was so nervous that she pinched her skirts and tried to tell herself not to be nervous. She slowly raised her head and found a warm line of sight in addition to the people's inquiring eyes. Their eyes touched, and the night was still cold with a gentle smile on their faces, and they nodded at Shunki. Cried. Shunki felt as if she were not so nervous, and she also smiled at the night with a cold lip. Shunki thinks that the cold night is really a very gentle person. All these little tricks fell into the eyes of the night in porch. There was a cold light in his eyes, and his sharp eyes narrow. Nurse. Unknown soul. What does Mo Shuang mean by care worker? Even Shunki didn't get it. Night manager, what did you just say she was? He picks his eyebrows slightly and asks the questioner. Grandpa and I invited me to take care of my daily life. Bad words. Why? Shunki slightly weird face, low eyes look at him. She clearly came to be his assistant. How did she become a nurse? Coffee. Nighting porch cold soul openings. Sheng Kai stood motionless until Xiaosu gave her an expression of eyes. Sheng Kai didn't react and immediately went out of the meeting room to make coffee. The meeting had already started, and Sheng Kai placed coffee in front of the Nighting pavilion. Mouth. Then found a sweet change. Then I only heard the Nighting porch in the conference room, picking voices from time to time. It's too hot. It's too cold. Sheng Kai went forth several times because of a cup of coffee. And the conference room was a place where the Nighting porch was harmful to everyone. The eyes coming from all directions made Sheng Kai almost ashamed. She was about to have an attack, but when she thought of Shin Yan, Sheng Kai held back and went out for another drink. Bang. The cup was heavily placed on the table, and everyone was startled. With this skill, you also want to be my care worker? Sheng Kai stood, his face white. The knight sitting now far away frowned slightly at this scene, and could not help but say Mo Zhuang. Passed? Oh, Big Brother actually spoke for her. It seems that this woman is a good means. The smile on Mo Zhuang's lips became colder and colder. Big Brother is distressed by my care worker. Then I'll give her to you. Sheng Kai bit his lower lip and his fingertips trembled. Too much? I finally understand why he suddenly agreed to stay, just to humiliate her, in the eyes of Mo Zhuang. He is probably a woman who marries into a rich family at all costs for money status, which is why he hates himself so much. Mo Zhuang, why are you doing this? After all, she is your wife. Before she could say it, she was interrupted by Xiaosu's cold voice. It's just making coffee. Isn't Vice President Yi a little lenient? It seems that the night is cold and wants to say something for Sheng Kai, but Sheng Kai steals before him and said, I'll make another drink for Yi Xiao. Say that finish. She took the cup and went out. 2 cups of meeting. How long? Sheng Kai ran back and forth. How long? Nighting porch has been dissatisfied. She was still making coffee until the meeting was over. Xiaosu, who was on the side, saw some unbearable feelings. When he saw that people were gone, he whispered to Mo Zhuang at night and said, It's less at night. Just cure her. Mo Zhuang's near this kind of woman. If she doesn't treat her like this, will she know what it is to retreat from difficulties? He will be interesting to see. How long can she endure? Countless is which cup Sheng Kai tired eyes think is going to insist on not bottom Gochu, carrying coffee into the conference room. Has disappeared. Nighting porch. He didn't say whether he passed or not, so he disappeared. Sheng Kai put coffee on the table and turned out. Just see the Nighting Gei Jiankar left the night's group. And she was left behind again. The Nighting Shuang didn't catch Sheng Kai leaving the night home, and didn't say that she was not allowed to come to the company. Want her to follow him. Nighting porch is trying to all kinds of slavery exploitation of her. A whole week of high-minus intensity work made Sheng Kai exhausted. This morning Sheng Kai was about to get up as usual to go to Yes High Group. But he felt dizzy and uncomfortable, and his body was heavy. When she was brushing her teeth, she even had bouts of nausea. She held the sink in her etch several times before finishing her toothbrush. Sheng Kai was puzzled. She felt that she are etched more and more frequently recently. I think it's a cold. Let's go to the hospital together today. But I have already arrived at the Nighting pavilion where the group is working, and I can't help but look at the time, an hour passed before work, and the woman still didn't come. Oh, he thought her perseverance was great, and this was the top. Knock. Just then there was a knock at the door. See bearer, Nighting Chuan hard inexplicable a loss. Night is little. This is the document that needs to be approved today, and the itinerary for the afternoon. Xiaosu respectfully handed in the information and continued to speak. The hospital has sent staff, and no suspicious women have been found to go to obstetrics and gynecology. Nighting porch pendulum. The hand motioned for the other person to leave, and when the other person was about to go out, he seemed to ask casually. She didn't come. Xiaosu paused for a moment, and immediately replied, yes. Miss Xin said she backed out. Nighting porch well, then continue to work. The heart is not the taste. Meanwhile, in the hospital, Sheng Kai took the number and stood in line. When it was her turn, after she told the doctor about her situation, the doctor looked at her strangely. Have you been sleepy? Nauseous, and occasionally have frequent urination and urgency recently. Sheng Kai nodded again and again. What's wrong with me? A cold doesn't seem to be like this. The doctor gave her a helpless look and continued to ask, how long has the physiological period not come? Sheng Kai counted, probably more than a month. Her words, seems to think of something, and her face gradually changed. The doctor smiled. Have you had sex recently? Pay more attention to your own situation. Don't prescribe the medicine first. Go and check it again. Sheng Kai almost slouched out of the hospital. She didn't dare to get the number, but went to the drugstore to buy a pregnancy test. After returning home at night, I locked myself in the bathroom. After waiting anxiously for a long time, when Sheng Kai saw that the pregnancy test stick was positive. She looked pale when she was sick, and now her face is even uglier. Looking down at his flat belly, I still can't believe it. At that time things happened so suddenly that she had never experienced such a thing. She fled home in desperation and was forced to get married. She was heartbroken and left it behind. So she didn't have time to take emergency contraceptives. Now, I have left that man's seed in my stomach. Sheng Kai stretched out his hand over his lips. Still unbelievable. No, she can't mess around. Maybe the pregnancy test is not accurate. But she still has to go to the hospital to check. Thought of fear, Sheng Kai immediately put things away and threw them into the trash can, got up and went out of the bathroom. I feel guilty, and when I come out I look around, for fear that the Nighting pavilion will suddenly appear. Because of the cold and pregnancy, Sheng Kai was groggy, so he just lay in bed and slept until sunset. Sheng Kai touched his hungry belly and went downstairs to find something to eat. On the stairs, several servants passed her, and one of them was very malicious. Hit her on the shoulder. Ah, Shengqi was accidentally knocked down on the stairs. Oh, it turned out to be the second housewife. I thought it was one of the servants. The maid didn't move at all. Shengqi glanced at the cocky maid and said nothing, just silently got up and continued downstairs. Who would have thought that she didn't want to cause trouble, but she didn't want to let her go. Size, really think that when you get married at night, you will fly to the branches and become a phoenix. You are not even as good as our servant. Is that look at the way she looks like a hillbilly, which is a little wealthy family. I heard that Asha only used her as a nurse. If I were her, I would pack my things and leave quickly, so as not to make a fool of myself yet. This kind of woman thick minus skin. What can be done for money? Hearing the ridicule words that have no idea of convergence, Shengqi's pale face is even paler, and his weak body can't help but follow. Turning his head, he was about to say something when a cold voice mixed with ice came. When did the servant of the night family commit such a crime and have no rule? Hearing the familiar voice, Shengqi suddenly looked up and saw Xiaosu pushing the Nighting porch in. Once let her avoid the cold posture, but this moment let her inexplicable peace of mind. Nighting porch is just a casual glance. In Shengqi's beautiful eyes with water vapor just crashed into his dark eyes, like a pebble falling into the calm lake and dribbling in circles. Shengqi is not ugly. Her facial features are 3-dimensional, her eyelashes are long and upturned, and a pair of beautiful eyes are like clear spring water. It seems that all the aura in the world is gathered in these eyes. At this moment, there is a little crystal on the eyelashes, but the eyes are reddish but trying not to let the tears fall. People can't help but want to pay. Her face was unusually white at this time, as if she were ill. Nighting porch somehow, the bottom of my heart somehow gratitude. Look at those gossiping maids, and their eyes are even colder. Nightless maids hung their heads and dared not speak. Who just slandered my wife? Hearing his words, Shengqi's pupil shook. And he admitted that she was his wife in front of everyone. Those servants who mocked Shengqi were frightened by the sudden intensification of his aura, and each body shook like Rex. And for a long time she opened her lips. Since no one admits it, it's all open, and no one will hire you again. It's them. It was the 4 of them who slandered the wealthy family. On hearing that she was going to be fired, the maid who didn't speak ill of Shengqi immediately pointed to the 4 people around her and scared them to kneel on the ground for mercy with a splash. We were wrong at night. Young mistress, we were wrong. Please forgive me once. Mistress, please give me another chance. Night Moshwan snorted coldly. Xiaosu. Yes. Xiaosu immediately got bodyguards to drive her servants out of the house. He looked at the maid who kept asking for forgiveness for her apologies. And just not a virgin, and she intercedes for them when she is bullied once they do. All they get is their noses and faces. After the 4 maids were dragged out, the hall was instantly quiet. Night Moshwan said coldly to the maid who was afraid to leave the atmosphere, if you dare to disrespect my wife next time, the consequences will never be so simple, understand? Yes, there are a few Nighting porch waved the servant to leave, and then looked up at the woman staring straight at her, feeling complicated. He said, before I found her, you were still the second mistress here. Sheng consciously answered. Who are you looking for? In an instant, the Nighting porch eyes became gloomy and scary. Don't ask what you shouldn't ask. Remember your identity. Say that. Finished. Nighting porch let Xiaosu pushed him upstairs. Didn't go to see the dull little woman behind him. Only his handsome eyebrow involuntarily see you. I always feel that I have been watching the back of his departure from her recently. Yes, who is he looking for? He just came forward to defend himself just because those maids humiliated him in disguise. She is his nominal wife. Anyway, as long as you don't dodge her away, the rest doesn't matter. The next day, Shengqi got up and changed into simple clothes, put on his hat and went out to the hospital. The result of the test yesterday kept her awake all night. I really hope the test result is wrong. After entering the hospital, Shengqi took out sunglasses and masks from his bag and put them on, being cautious for fear of meeting other people at night. When waiting in line for the equal sign, Shengqi's A-catching dress instantly attracted the attention of others. The doctor frowned when he saw the man with only one pair of eyes. I was about to ask questions. Bang! Suddenly, several tall and burly men in black burst into the house, which startled the doctor. Who are you? Security guard, there is a medical trouble here. Shengqi looked at a few people who were coming towards him in an aggressive manner, and they were also scared to get up and drive. But as soon as she stood up, a man in black grabbed her, bent over and carried her, and directly rushed out with her. Ah, what are you doing? Let me go, Shengqi, who was carried like a broken sack, suffered from congestion in his head, punching and kicking people under him. Help, Shilong Villa. Nighting porch looked at the empty villa and frowned. After hearing that a woman with strange whereabouts was caught in the obstetrics and gynecology department of the hospital, why Emojwan put down all her work and came here. It should be here soon. Xiaosu respectfully replied. Just then, a shrill cry came. What are you doing? Put me down. Shengqi was carried by the man on his shoulder all the way, and his head was dizzy and he was about to spit it out. You are kidnapping. I tell you, I have nothing, and you don't want to hit my lord. The following words came to an abrupt end when you saw the figure in the wheelchair in front. Nighting Pavilion. Why is he here? Deep and sharp black eyes looked at himself, and at the moment when he looked at him, Shengqi bowed his head quickly. She was armed to the teeth, and the Nighting porch failed to recognize herself at the moment. It's just what did he have her brought here for? Do you know that she is pregnant? Thought of here, Sheng Paishan. A great change. She was originally married instead of Shen Yu. And why Emojwan is already very dissatisfied with this. Shengqi pushed those men in black and turned to Ra. Get her back, Xiaosu said, loudly. Drink away. Night Mojuan stared at the petite figure, remembering the night a month ago. Her eyes moved slightly and she said aloud, don't hurt her. Before he ran to steps, Shengqi was recaptured, and it was useless to struggle. My heart ran wildly. It's over. She's going to be found. Nighting porch, although sitting in a wheelchair, but is tall, not much shorter than her. A hand met her mask. Shengqi stare big eye. Don't open your face. Shengqi stare big eyes, continue to escape. This cat minus and minus mouse chase made Emojwan laugh in stitches, with a low voice. Do you like playing so much? What's going on? Shengqi looked at him in disbelief. Expressionless Nighting Pavilion before. How did his voice and tone suddenly become so gentle? Is lost in thought. The mask on Shengqi's face was suddenly picked by Mojuan at night. Coming Jialiang. and moved to realize that his arm was May. Nighting porch just now with soft eyes after taking off her mask to see her face. The soft color in her eyes disappeared inch by inch, and then replaced by coats and cold. Shinky also stupid. He didn't know it was himself, you ask me? Listening to what Mo Zhuan thought, he narrowed his eyes and stared at her. What are you doing in the hospital? She was not a good one. The long liar, trembling his eyelashes and stumbling, replied, I have a cold. Can't I go to the hospital? Nighting Zhuan slightly raised eyebrows and sneered. Go to obstetrics and gynecology to see a doctor. Why don't you tell me what's wrong with you? Shanky bit her lower lip and thought for a long time. You didn't know it was me at all, so why did you ask someone to catch me here? Listen to words. He didn't think it would be such a coincidence. He was looking for a woman a month ago, but those people actually caught her. And she was still in obstetrics and gynecology. At the thought of obstetrics and gynecology, a shade of yin-ji flashed in Mo Zhuan's eyes. Are you pregnant? Being pricked by the fact of guilty conscience, Shanky instantly turned white, trembling lips, and didn't know how to speak. Oh, why Mo Zhuan sneered. No wonder you are in such a hurry to marry at night instead of your sister. So you brought a dry bottle and couldn't wait to find someone to take over. Xiaosu, who was standing behind Mo Zhuan, suddenly clenched his fist angrily. Who do you think we are at night? I actually took my children to marry at night. If our people didn't find you sneaking around in obstetrics and gynecology, how long would you want to hide it? Shanky wanted to deal with this matter quietly, but he didn't expect to be caught here by the Nighting Pavilion. It's just that what's he doing in obstetrics and gynecology? Facing the gloomy face of Mo Zhuan at night, Shanky suppressed the fear and doubt that surged in his heart. And his mouth shut and said, who said that? I went to obstetrics and gynecology to get pregnant. Can I go to see a gynecologist? It seems that you don't cry until you see the coffin. The cold voice of Mo Zhuan at night came like hell. Take her to the hospital and tell me the result. The bodyguard in black came forward and seized Shanky. Don't. Shanky struggled hard. Mo Zhuan. We are only nominal couples. What qualifications do you have to let them do this to me and let me go? Let go. Night Mo Zhuan's eyes are cold and her tone is indifferent. If I find out that you are pregnant, you should know the consequences. Xiaosu, pull people away. Knowing that she is not the person she is looking for, Nighting Zhuan has no pity for Shanky. In an hour, Nighting Zhuan will report in the hands of a single to Shanky face. In fact, she stared at her in a sullen way. Oh, you want me to be the receiver at Mo Zhuan? Shenjia is really brave. No, it's not like that. When such a big hat was buckled, Shanky immediately panicked. I didn't know I was pregnant, and Shenyang didn't know it. I didn't mean to hide it from you. I don't know. Mo Zhuan suddenly reached out and grabbed her chin, and her eyes were as gloomy as on the eve of the storm day. I will give you another chance to get rid of the child. And I can barely let you stay at home at night. Shanka subconsciously retorted, no one knows. And what he said seemed to be poisoned. You think I am disabled and should accept you with my ex-husband and children, don't you? Shanky shook his head again and again. I didn't think so at all. She didn't expect that she would get pregnant at all. She was with Lin Zhang for 2 years, and he never touched her. How did she know that she would accidentally lose her virginity on that rainy night and then get pregnant again? Like a collapsed wall, is madly pressed on Shanky's shoulder. Shanky knows that once she has someone else's children, she can't stay at night. And Shenyang will become a joke in the whole North City. But she needs some time to accept this mess. Please, give me some time. 3 days on bloodthirsty openings. 3 days later, the bastard is still in your belly. You give me get out of the night home. Say that finish. Xiaosu pushed the Nightingale and left. Shanky sat down on the ground alone, his limbs cold. For a long time, Shanky took out his mobile phone with trembling hands and made a phone call to his best friend Cecilia Han. When Shanky returned to his night home again, it was already dark. She chatted with her best friend Cecilia Han for a long time. The continuous blow for more than a month made Shanky exhausted, and poured out something to make her feel better. The two also carefully analyzed the current situation, and Shanky finally made up his mind not to have this child. Now I only have the shelter of the night home. Parents can force her to marry at the night home regardless of her wishes for my sister and family interests. Once she's driven out by the night home, can Shenyang still accommodate her? While thinking, a cold voice came from behind. Stop. Shanky turned head to see Xiaosu pushing the knife. Their eyes met in the air. Less than a second later, Shanky opened his eyes and asked aloud, it's late at night. Mo Zhuan stared at her, but told the people behind him, Xiaosu, go home. Hearing this, Xiaosu paused. And I haven't helped you today. Shouldn't Mrs. Nighting Porch keeping a close eye on the woman who bowed her head and lowered her eyes in front. And her heart was agitated, especially after learning that she was pregnant. The inexplicable anger almost swallowed it up. Shanky was stunned and looked up and down. What do I need to do, Xiaosu? Tell her what Mrs. Xiaosu took a look at Mo Zhuan and didn't understand what he was thinking, but he said to Shanky according to his idea, it's inconvenient to have fewer legs at night. And it's best to be on call. Say that finish. Xiaosu still don't trust, just walked over and whispered a few words with Shanky. Shanky listened carefully at first, and when he heard the back his white face, the egg was blushing. And she bit her lower lip lightly. Do you have to do this? Xiaosu is a thick man of skin, sipping his thin lips. That's for sure. Do it well, and be careful not to get angry at night and throw you out directly. Shanky was stared by him and shrank his neck and nodded. I know. After the exhortation, Xiaosu went back to report to Mo Zhuan there is little night. So I'll go first. Shanky remembered what Xiaosu had just said to her, and her cheeks turned red again. Come here. Nighting Porch suddenly cold drink. Shanky was startled by him, and the petite figure came up to him shaking. Shake what? Mo Zhuan saw that she was so scared that she didn't fight. She scolded again, push me to the bathroom. Shanky pushed him to the bathroom as he said. The bathroom in Yijia is very big, probably because Mo Zhuan's legs are inconvenient, so it was specially big. Just after pushing him in, Nighting embodied that strong cold breath in an instant. Cover the bathroom. Shanky whispered, where are your clothes? Bring the blue one. Good. Shanky turned to get the blue pajamas. She found that Nighting Zhuan had already taken off her coat. The appearance of being shirtless made Shanky startled, with a scream of awe, and turned to cover her eyes. Nighting Porch frowned. Why did you take off your clothes? Listen to the words. The Nighting Porch eyes flooded with a bit of displeasure, twisted ahead to find that the woman was standing at the door with his back to him, and he looked down at himself, and then his lips evoked a mocking smile. Don't take off your clothes. How to take a shower? What, are you pretending to be pure with me? Shanki wanted him to put on his clothes, but the words came to his mouth and he swallowed back. He was right. How can I take a shower without taking off my clothes? Don't say it's just the upper body. You'll have to take off the lower part later. Thought of here. Shanki's face instantly burst into rage. Close your eyes, take a deep breath and hypnotize yourself. You are husband and wife, didn't you get ready before you got married? You shouldn't get stage fright at the moment. With this in mind, Shanki turned around, and his face was calm. Do you need anything else? Take off your clothes. Then tie the belt. Shanki's eyes light looked at the knighting porch. So he shouldn't stand up to exercise at ordinary times. Shanki thought there would be a lot of fat on his stomach, but he didn't expect to see a lean chest and a flat abdomen. Cold knighting KJN mocking voice sounded again. Shanki lifted his eyes to his sharpened deep eyes, nodded in panic, and then tied his belt with trembling hands. But she didn't touch it at all, and she couldn't get the knighting porch to frown, looking at this half-minus bent woman. The white neckline is like concealed, and her hands are shaking on his belt for a long time. Did you do it on purpose? The voice was a little hoarse. The more Shanki was in a hurry, the more she didn't know how to open it. She was so nervous that her voice broke into tears. I won't. The woman's hand was soft and boneless with a warm warmth, and the back of her hand rubbed against his lower abdomen. At night, the eyes of Mojuan became thicker and thicker, and the eyes of Mojuan seemed to have a strong condensation. Can you help yourself? Words not to say that finish. Shanki's wrist was knighting KJN a buckle, and then he was strung into his arms. Time seems to be quiet for a moment. Shanki sat down on the knighting porch's leg. The breath of men invaded her breath in a very overbearing way and occupied all her senses in an instant. Let go. Stay laying for 2 seconds. Shanki IQ reaction to come over, stretched out his hand against Shanki's chest, trying to pull the distance between the people. Knighting KJN buckle her white wrist, eyes gloomily took her hand down, stopped on the buckle of the belt. Your ex-husband didn't tell you how to solve, or are you pretending with me on purpose, hoping I can teach you? What? Then as you wish. Knighting Chuan grabbed her hand and pressed the buckle. The belt is loose. Shanki feels that the brain has crashed, and the flustered eyes gradually stare big under the gaze of the knighting porch. The belt wasn't tied by Knight Chuan with her hand, taken down and thrown aside. Shanki's brain is in a state of crash, so his body has no reaction. Do you know now? Knighting porch hoarse voice asked. His face is handsome, his eyes are deepest tan, his nose is stiffened upturned, and his thin lips are pinched like a straight line. I have to say that Yi Mojuan is really a very handsome man. With this face alone, how many women in Bi Cheng have to flock to it? Shanki failed to forget his humiliation to her. Watching him get closer to himself, Shin cautiously kept his head under hands. Holding her chin, he said in a harsher voice, what are you hiding from? Playing hard to get? Shanki didn't want to listen to his humiliating words anymore, so he bit his lower lip tightly. If you are not interested in me, then let me go. What? Are you interested? Shanki's eyes widened. You and Do. He suddenly bent over, his cold thin lips heavily covered with her red lips trembling slightly with nervousness. Well, Shanki brain blanked for several seconds to react, and stretched out his hand and pushed his chest. Push him. Knighting porch as if by the stimulus, more vigorously rubbed her tender lips, strength to Shanki simply unbearable. The pain on her lips made her delicate fry. She swallowed, pushing him. Knighting Chuan was originally trying to humiliate her, to see how far a married woman's kissing skills went. Who knows that her reaction was unexpectedly green, and she didn't know how to take a breath. Under his strong offensive, she didn't have the ability to resist at all, letting him bully her. Damn it. If you really want to seduce him, shouldn't you try your best to seduce him at this time? Suddenly, Yi Mojuan rudely pulled the person in her arms away from her lips. Shanki was kissed and his head was dizzy. Except for the man a month ago, she has never experienced such a fierce and overbearing kick. The Night Ink Pavilion is too strong. Just like a fierce leopard, after catching you, she has been attacking crazily, giving you no chance to breathe. No matter what you do, you can't escape. Shanki was very resistant at first, but gradually he was kissed all over, and now he was pulled away by the Night Ink Pavilion. His thoughts were still drifting away, and his eyes were blurred and he couldn't say a word. Night Ink Porch dangerously narrowed his eyes, staring at the eyes close at hand. This woman's eyes are like a cold spring. On weekdays, it looks too cold and cold, which makes people unable to lift any desire. At the moment, his eyes are blurred, and he has a different style, which magically attracts him. Somehow, an idea came into my mind at night. Why did such a woman get divorced when she was in love? Knighting Chuan squints holds her chin close to her, and asks in a dumb voice, didn't you take a kiss? Can't breathe. Hearing the kiss, Shanki seemed to return to absolute being, and the blur in his eyes slowly faded away. However, the thinness of men. Lip cover up again. Shanki melody nowadays by his buckle the back of the head. Deep in the kiss. Knighting Porch also don't know what's going on. Just at that moment, he suddenly wanted to keep the scenery in the eyes of Shanki. So directly on the mouth. Shanki didn't know how long she had been sinking, so she suddenly woke up. See Knighting Porches bowed their heads and eating on her neck. Hot heavy breath let Shankai tight slim on, push him away. This push directly pushed the Knighting Porch away, and dropped himself. By the way, Shanki sat down on the cold floor, her whole head was confused. What are you doing? Glancing at his bulging trousers, I immediately looked away in horror, after the Knighting Porch was pushed away. The expression was a little stunned, and after a while, it returned to indifference. Mrs. not used to exercising her husband's power. He had a sarcastic smile on his lips, which was obviously intended to humiliate her. Shanki angry tunnel, you are not interested in me. Why are you kissing them? Kissing should be something that lovers can only do, but the way he looks at her is obviously disgust. Why can he say anything? Didn't I tell you invested in you and humiliating you are completely different? Shanki was stuck. I didn't expect him to be so bad that Shanki got up to go. Mrs. undress me yet. Or do you want to be your wife that night? Naked clenched his powder fist, blanched with anger, and let go again. Isn't it just taking off your clothes? Shanki turned and walked back to him. Night Mojuan noticed that her beautiful eyes were cold again, like a cold spring that would not move for a long time. I want to stay at night, but I can't even hook up with people. Shanki bent down to help him take off his pants. Just close your eyes and pull his pants. But because of the wrong posture, I can't take it off. I can only say to him, Help me. Night Mojo sat there with a cold face, Mrs. Night doesn't know that I am disabled. How hard? Shanky, I can't help you at all without your help. It seems that your wife is of little use this evening. Shang Trai face a change, so we have to shut up and try very hard. What if Shangki still hasn't succeeded in the past 2 minutes? Shangki was so anxious that she almost cried, and her eyes were red. So when he reached his lips he stopped, and the Night Porch frowned. What's the matter with him? A woman who has taken the place of her sister by hook or by crook and married into a night home with a child. He should just throw it out and give her a chance, yeah? Night Porch suddenly wake up, buckle Shangki wrist. Directly push her out. Shangki unexpected. Thin shoulders hit the hard wall, looked up to the Yingchuans and cold eyes last night. Get out. She looked at him inexplicably, clutching her bruised shoulder. Nothing. What are you doing here? Shangki clenched his fist and felt that the Night Porch was talking too much. But after thinking about it, it is also true that she didn't help for a long time. And then she slowly walked out of the bathroom, clutching her shoulders. Xiaosu, the cold voice broke in with sweeping momentum. And Xiaosu, who was hiding outside to eavesdrop, was a vigorous figure. Don't roll in. Xiaosu rushed into the bathroom rolling and crawling, scratching his head awkwardly. It's a little night. How did you know I was outside? Night Porch coldly swept his one eye. Xiaosu had to shut up at once. When Mojuan came out of the shower at night, Shangki in the bedroom was already asleep. A small ball was huddled in the quilt, and she covered her whole head, revealing only a few strands of long black hair. The Night Yingchuan withdrew her eyes, towels. Xiaosu handed a dry towel, and Bai Mojuan hid the water on her hair. And her thin lips moved. You go back first. As the words fell, Shangki, who was sleeping over there, probably felt hot when he was covered in a quilt, and suddenly kicked off the quilt, revealing white and straight thin legs. Shouldn't you API? The skin is very white and the legs are very thin. The visual impact caused by this scene is quite big. Xiaosu also heard the movement and subconsciously looked over. As a result, his eyes just touched those white legs, and the Night Porch sounded with a chilly voice, don't go. The sudden coldness made Xiaosu tremble and hurriedly walked out of the room. After he left, Mojuan's eyes fell on Shangki again, with a snort of cold. Damn woman, she still pretends to be so pure and doesn't know anything. Now I'm asleep, but I'm so hooked on a man. When Shangki woke up, the Night Porch had left. When she finished packing and went downstairs, she happened to meet the old man at night. Shangki was inexplicably nervous. I always feel that the old man's eyes are sharp and seem to be able to discern people's hearts. She is afraid that her identity will be easily recognized in front of him. You didn't accompany Mojuan to the company these 2 days? She glanced at the old man timidly, and then whispered, I'm sorry, old man. I've been a little sick these 2 days, so not feeling well. My son narrowed his sharp eyes. I'll call the doctor to examine her. Didn't her pregnancy come to light immediately? Shangki immediately stopped. No need, father. I just have a common cold. I will go out to the pharmacy to buy some medicine myself later. Night he shrewd eyes staring at her. Shangki by his heart be afraid, subconsciously biting his lower lip. How can I just take medicine? Who knows? The Night he just sighed, and then waved to her, beckoned her to go closer. Shangki took a few steps forward and then stopped stiffly. Remember to buy medicine yourself. If you feel better after taking medicine, remember to go to the company to see Mojuan. Shangki nodded. I know the old man. The Night father nodded with satisfaction. Go. After leaving the Night home, Shangki called Cecilia Han, and Cecilia Han came quickly and arrived in 20 minutes. After getting on the bus, Cecilia Han asked the deadpan around him, have you thought about it? Shangki nodded firmly. Your uterine lining is particularly thin, and abortion can lead to perforation and massive bleeding, which is life minus threatening, but it can't be pregnant for a lifetime. We don't recommend abortion here. Hearing this, Shangki frowned, and Cecilia Han heard a little surprised. Can't it is not recommended, the doctor said lightly. Think again. Out of the hospital, Cecilia Han's eyebrows are knotted. You can't have an abortion. God, how can there be such annoying things? I'll take you home first. Shangki nodded, then shook his head. Take me to the company. When arriving at the Yes High Group building, Cecilia Han whispered, you go first and I'll contact the doctor for you when I get back. See you. Thank you. Several receptionists were still very impressed with Shangki, so Shangki got on the elevator smoothly and arrived at the top president's office. The office door was left open when Shangki Gang tried to knock at the door when she heard the conversation inside. You brought me that woman, and this time you brought me a mother. Xiaosu, it's me. Indulge you, or are you mindless now? Night Porch sitting in front of the office, slender fingers gently buckled the desktop. In the eyes of the cleaner suddenly and violently, terrifying breath filled his whole body. Xiaosu stood at his desk, his head hanging low, like a puppy with a drooping head. Seeing this, Shangki subconsciously hid behind the door. I really didn't mean to. It's just that you gave too little information, so I belong to the practice of killing by mistake and never letting go. He followed Mojuan at night for so long, and he usually dealt with things at work, even if there are some troubles. He can settle them quickly. But now the task is to find a woman, or a woman who doesn't know anything. You won't collect news yourself. Night Mojuan's near, his sharp eyes became gloomy. And the tapping on the desktop stopped. Or are you blaming me? The faint and cold tone made Xiaosu's figure stand up straight, and he immediately shook his head to deny it. No matter sure, then I will arrange more people to check, and I will bring people to you after I personally interrogate them next time. Interrogation? Get out. Night Porch gets out a satisfactory answer, impatiently pulled the tie on the chest. Xiaosu couldn't wait for him to tell him to get out of here. It was so cold in this office that he couldn't stay any longer. Yes, Xiaosu came out, conveniently closed the office door, and turned around and saw Shangki standing on the wall. Xiaosu immediately pulled her to the corner. Are you desperate? Actually eavesdropping on me talking to the Night? Hearing this, Shangki shook his head. I just happened to come and listen to you. But who is the person he is looking for? Hearing this, Xiaosung arrowed his eyes. Mission. I advise you not to ask what you shouldn't ask. You were originally a substitute when you got married at night, but you can't be regarded as a real wife at night. You can't be a wealthy family. Xiaosu's words were very straightforward, which made Shangki hang down his eyes in embarrassment. I know. Seeing her suddenly depressed, Xiaosu realized that her words were a little harsh. I know what I said was a little ugly, but Miss Shang understood it herself. Don't mention anything today, otherwise I can't save you. Say that finish, Xiaosu turned and left quickly. Shangki is in the corner. She stood in the room for about 5 minutes before she knocked at the door. Enter. 1921's voice sounds cold and heartless, vaguely with anger. Shunki hesitated for a moment, pushed open the office door and went in. 19 Porch didn't sit in front of the office, but turned your back on her sitting in front of the French window, overlooking the below. The air was quiet for a few seconds, and the night Mojuan realized that the visitor didn't speak, so he frowned and turned around in his wheelchair. Who knows what caught my eye was Shunki's slightly pale and morbid face. Yi Mojuan frowned. What are you doing here? Shanghai looked up and bumped into his eyes. I am your assistant. 19 Porch disdained her lips near, eyes glanced at her flat abdomen, and a burst of irritability. He pulled the tie on his chest and asked in a cold voice, what are you going to do about the baby? 19 Hin take the initiative to mention the child. Let Shanghai face white again a few minutes. Fingers silently tightened. Don't reply. Are you going to keep him? Shanghai summoned up the courage to look him in the eye. Can you give me a few more days? No. 19 Porch also don't want to rip off. The whole body cold meaning is cold, like watching the dead looking at Shanghai. My thin lips spit out cruel words. 2 days later. If the child is still here, I will do it myself. Shanghai didn't go to the hospital to abort the child, because Cecilia Han looked for her, and asked her to hold the 19 Porch first. She found a doctor over there to see if there was any way to have an abortion without hurting her body. Just by the appointed time limit, I still haven't found a way to be satisfactory to both sides. That night Shanghai in the bedroom was anxious, praying that the 19 Porch could not come back, but how could it be as she wished? The door opened with a creak. Night Mojuan turned to her wheelchair and entered the door, and she saw the woman who was in the same place. The sharp eyes locked him tightly. The appointed time is up. Eyes as dark as night, as dangerous as a dormant beast. So she doesn't dare to look into each other's eyes at all. She doesn't open her eyes and whisper, I know, I have already knocked the child up. Really? 19 Hin's near at one, tone slightly raised, and her voice dropped a little. I really did. After that, Shanghai took a list from her pocket with trembling hands and handed it to Yi Mojuan. This is the proof of abortion. Look. 19 Porch didn't pick up. There is a sense of uneasiness in the air. Shanghai's head sat straight, and the hair that had not been dried after bathing was still dripping with transparent water drops. It's true. But the tone sounded obviously humbled. Yi Mojuan snorted coldly and suddenly took the list in her hand. A fake certificate. Also trying to fool my eye. Who is so brave actually accompany you to make a fake? The abortion certificate was crumpled up and thrown at Shanghai's feet. Shanghai suddenly looked up, and her slim figure trembled. Her pale lips trembled. The strength of your wrist suddenly increased. Shanghai felt that her wrist was almost broken by him. She wrinkled her eyebrows painfully, but she bit her lower lip tightly and didn't say a word. Oh, I would have guessed you. This woman is not honest. 19 Hin had a heart, dragged her into her arms, didn't give her any chance to struggle. Put a small transparent bag in her hand. Shanghai looked down and saw a white pill in the bag. At the thought of what? Her face turned pale, and her trembling hands tried to throw away the pills, but she was buckled more tightly by the Nightingale Pavilion. What I hate most in Mojuan's life is a woman like you, who is selfish but pretends to destroy other people's families innocently, marries with other people's children, and wants to be safe and sound. He peeled off the bag himself, and his smile suddenly became evil and bloodthirsty. Don't you want to stay at home at night? Take this medicine and I'll let you stay here as a housewife. Needless to say, Shanghai knows what medicine it is. Her face changes at a speed visible to the naked eye. Pale and transparent, petite body. He trembled particularly badly under his imprisonment. No, I don't wanna. That certificate is not fake. I really aborted the child. Do you believe it? 19 Porch eyes cold without temperature. Slender fingers easily hold her jaw, forcing her to open her lips, and the other hand directly put the pills into her mouth mercilessly. Shanghai resisted the whole process, but the strength difference between men and women was too wide. She couldn't move under the confinement of the 19 Porch, and she could only watch him put the pills into her mouth. The unique taste of the tablets melted with the tongue, and the depressed taste his Shanghai's heart and his stomach began to roll again. Let go and swallow it. 19 Porch ruthlessly according to her, trying to. The pills in her mouth were pushed in, and the expression in her eyes was like a resurrected corpse, doing it without any emotion. Shanghai finally couldn't help but let out a whoop of vomiting from his throat. Seeing that she really had a tendency to vomit, Yi Mojuan let go. The next second, Shanghai, like an arrow from the left, rushed out. 19 Porch saw the petite figure rushed into the bathroom, lying on the sink. Vomiting, handsome face faint blue, and the eyes of hostility increased a few minutes. Shanghai threw up on the sink, and the bitter taste of the pills in her mouth persisted for a long time, constantly impacting her taste buds and making her vomit and vomit. She also spit out the pill and didn't eat it, tired to the point of collapse. She managed to clean up the bathroom and then sat limply on the toilet. I just took a shower, but now my forehead and neck are covered with cold sweat. Shanghai subconsciously covers her lower abdomen. I spit out the pills, but how can my stomach hurt? Thinking about this, Shanghai's eyes panicked. As white as a ghost, she stood up from the toilet and stumbled over her lower abdomen and walked out. 19 Chuan sipped his thin lips were chew. Shanghai didn't answer and stubbornly walked out. 19 Hin drank, but really give Shanghai to drink. Yi Mojuan didn't take it to heart, thinking that she was putting on an act. She sneered. I won't eat this pathetic set. The petite figure lying on the ground did not move. Yi Mojuan raised his eyebrows. Is the play enough? People still didn't move. 19 Porch slightly narrowed Guest's long eyes, and then turned the wheelchair forward. This just saw Shanghai as white as a sheet, and even his lips lost color. Suddenly, the Nightingale Xuan's heart seemed to be caught. 20 minutes later, in the corridor of the hospital, 19 Porch solemnly sitting in a wheelchair, eyes light coldly looking at Xiaosu, busy before coming towards him. 19 Xuan has a bad tone. Xiaosu curled his mouth. The doctor said that qi and blood were deficient, and he was sick and exhausted. So he moved a little bit, that's all. Hearing this, Yi Mojuan raised his eyebrows, and after a moment, he sneered contemptuously. Are you pretending to be poor? Just move your tires casually. Xiaosu, there is little night. Miss Shen's face is really bad, and this is the diagnosis of the hospital. 19 Porch Haisaja. The sharp knife fell on Xiaosu's face, and Xiaosu immediately coughed. It may be a diagnosis error. What are you going to do that night? Yi Mojuan remembered that the previous purpose had not been achieved, and all the pills she had fed her were spit out. Contact the doctor and have an operation. Oh, you think you can keep that bastard by pretending to be sick? Well, Miss Shen hasn't knocked out the child yet. After Xiaosu was shocked, he immediately nodded. I'll contact the doctor. Xiaosu left. The knight in Chuang turned the wheelchair toward the ward, and the wheel slipped into the white ward quietly and silently. The petite figure of the woman was lying on the hospital bed, with her hands neatly flat on her chest. There is a serene expression on her beautiful face. She doesn't see that she is sick but more like sleeping. It is obviously a calculating woman, and it is actually this weak appearance when she is in a coma. The wheel slowly approached the bedside. The inky eyes of Mo Xuan at night gripped her tightly, filled with complicated emotions. Fake it, right? Otherwise, how could you have fainted at such a time, thinking that this would let her leave this bastard? 19 force yourself to look away, pushing a wheelchair to leave the ward. When Shenki woke up, his nose was full of disgusting disinfectant. I opened my eyes and found myself lying in a cold operating room. Seeing the doctors fiddling with the instruments, Shenki immediately struggled to get up, pulled off the infusion needle in his hand, pushed away the nurses around him and stumbled out. With the doctor, the patient ran away. Shenki Gang pushed open the door of the operating room, and there were 3 black bodyguards outside, apparently to prevent her from escaping. You let me go. I don't want surgery, one side of Xiaosu said, Monsieur Han. There will be no pain otherwise. With a look, those men in black firmly grasped to Shenki. You executioners, it's up to me to decide whether my own children will stay or not. Shenki growled and punched and kicked the men in black who caught her. You let me go? Shenki like crazy. This weak body and excitement at this time, eyes in dark. Then a soft faint again. When she saw this, she sneered, the same trick will be stupid if you use it the second time. Take her away. Xiao Sun nodded and directed the men to bring Shenki back to the operating room. Shenki's feminine body was lifted without any resistance. Her long, supple hair was scattered, and her collar was crooked, revealing her white, tender and moist shoulders. Yi Mozhuan felt a stab in the eye. Let her go. Words had been exploded before the break. Was the person who spoke just now less at night deaf? Xiaosu didn't react, so he had to ask. What's wrong with the knight? Knight Yingxuan turned the wheel in the past, took the Como Shenki, stretched out his hand and buttoned the button she had opened because of her struggle. A moment later, I realized what I was doing. Come here. Take your hand back. Looking up again, smiling and bloodthirsty no matter how she is my woman at night. If you let me know that you have seen what you shouldn't see untouched, I will make your life worse than death. Several men reacted instantly and nodded again and again. I know. There are a few nights. When I woke up again, Shenki was completely desperate. She found that all her limbs had been tied to the operating bed, and no matter how hard she struggled, she could not break free. The cold liquid dripped into the body along the needle tube, and Shenki could only shout hoarsely, Let me go, I don't want surgery. The nurse on the side increased the flow rate of the intravenous drip and said, Miss Shang, take a sleep and it will be over soon. The efficacy of anesthetic gradually came up, and Shenki's consciousness gradually blurred. Feeling that his legs were separated and the cold medical equipment entered the body, Shenki shouted loudly with all his strength, Yi Mozhuan, I hate you. A line of clear tears slipped from the corner of my eye. At the moment when Shenki was completely plunged into darkness, the door of the operating room was kicked open with a bang. Shenki felt that she had slept for a long time. She had a terrible dream. The abortion certificate she asked Cecilia Han to find someone to do was discovered by Yi Mozhuan, and then she was forcibly taken to the hospital, and then the child was taken out. Blood ILY. Shenki, its twin one, suddenly sat up from the bed. She stretched out her hand to cover her lower abdomen, and she was sweating. Looking around, it was already bright. It was the room of Yi Mozhuan. Yesterday's memory revived. Shenki suddenly lifted the quilt and jumped out of bed. Will she never have a chance to be a mother again? What's the ghost's name? A cold voice led Shenki steps thoroughly institute. She barefoot looked back toward the sound source. Xiaosu pushed the nighting porch came in. Seeing him, Shenki was angry. Hit one place, grabbed the pillow next to it and threw it at him. Bastard. When the Mozhuan smelled, Xiaosu directly hit the pillow thrown over Shenki. You are crazy. Nighting and you be so cruel. You give me my child back? Shenki, emotional out of control, to cease the nighting porch call. Who are you calling an animal? Nighting porch voice call. Don't recognize the joys and sorrows. Shenki eyes red to stare at him. Let go. Stubbornly biting his lower lip and looking at her. Miss Shanghang, you don't unappreciate. Let us go quickly. Xiaosu, unwilling to drink angry. Even an animal has more feelings than you at night. Your blood is cold and your heart is black. Really? Night Mozhuan sneered. So that's how you see me? Shenki gang eye, fixedly staring at her. Tears have filled the whole eyes, but she has been trying not to fall in front of the nighting pavilion. Very good. Nighting Shuan buckle her thin white wrist, hold her chin beast. Animals have more feelings than me. Oh Xiaosu, get out. Nighting porch whole body is sending out a strong scent cold. Xiaosu shivered, silently turned and went out. What are you going to do? After Xiaosu went out, Shen Qiuqi reacted, trying to break the shackles of the nighting pavilion. Nighting porch, although leg disease, but strength is really big. He grabbed her wrist. She can't move at all. The nighting porch dragged her into his arms, and his big hand tied her fiber waist, hold her chin with one hand and press her head down. The cold and dry thin lips pressed on Shenki's lips without warning. Shenki's brain completely crashed and his eyes widened in disbelief. What is he doing? Nighting porch breathing is heavy. The breath of the whole body is also very cold. Surrounded by a strong occupation of her, Shanghai Tingqi spirits in trance. Why is the nighting pavilion in front of you so similar to the man who asked for himself more than a month ago? Shenki only remembers that the man gave her a strong feeling at that time, and she forgot almost everything else including the voice. If she wasn't pregnant now, maybe she could try to find the man that night? A heavy pain in the lower lip. Shenki. During the night, Mozhuan stared at her darkly. He retreated to his lips, vagina. As a night wife, I was distracted while kissing. Words fall, hoop in her waist hand. Grabbed her neck. The strength is a little big. Shenki, eat pain melody nowadays. Don't you hate me? Shenki stuttered a little, but his eyes were full of hatred. And humiliate you are two different things. It seems that your memory is not good. And she painfully screwed up her eyebrows to push the person in front of her away. But his hand once again tied her waist and locked her firmly in her arms. Between the lips, the voice of Yi Mozhuan was done. Since I am an animal, I will sit. Shenqi's eyes widened. Don't touch me. Say that finish. Shenqi vigorously tore the Nighting in thin bite. A stuffy hum, to people's lips and teeth filled with a bloody taste. Nighting Porchy pain, back to your breath. It seems that Mrs. Night not only bugs. But Nighting Porch smile stretched out his hand to wipe his lips. He was born handsome, always cold-faced at ordinary times. Smile is very good, but at the moment, his smile is bloodthirsty, like an angered lion. And the bright red on his lips makes the face of Yimoshuan more beautiful and evil. Shenqi finally found a gap to push him away, and the petite body shrank into the corner. What do you want to do? What? Don't forget that you made a pact with me. Didn't you let me touch you? Then what were you doing just now? Nighting not language winked her coldly. Shenqi pulled up his collar and looked at him stubbornly. The more she wants to do it to her. A second minus married woman is pregnant with a bastard. Why should he go easy on such a woman? After hearing that her life was in danger, he cancelled the abortion operation and brought her back. Yimoshuan, you must be crazy. Looking at her for a moment, Yimoshuan laughed a sentence though. Even if I want to play. I am only interested in clean women. Say that finish. Nighting Porch since has turned the wheel and left the room. When the room was quiet again, Shenqi's tight string finally slackened, and she was unable to slide down along the cold wall, hugging her knees and crying quietly. The Nighting Porch outside the door heard this sobbing cry and made a slight movement, then sneered contemptuously. Although there was a lot of noise that day, he didn't mention telling her to get out of the house at night. But Shenqi still wants to go to the company as his assistant, and Nighting Porch will deliberately embarrass her. Shenqi can only try to crack it every time. Although she is not smart enough, she is very resilient and determined, so no matter how the Nighting Porch humiliated her, she gritted her teeth. Hold on. On this day, the Night Master called her to the study and stood in front of the Night Master. Shenqi was genuinely afraid. How's it going for you to be Moshuan's assistant recently? After listening to the speech, Shenqi thought for a moment and replied cleverly, not bad. Night he picked his eyebrows and narrowed his dark eyes. What do you mean it's okay? Have you gained his trust? Huh? Do you think anyone can sit on this position as an assistant? I heard that you are smart and should be able to understand what grandpa means. Shenka Hami asked first told. Sir? Son, you mean Moshuan has a light disease, which has caused his mood to change. So he is particularly cruel and has no discretion. The Night family is a big group and cannot be destroyed in his hands. What you have to do is to prevent him from doing things that are unfavorable to Yi's family. As a woman, you don't know much, so you should report to me in time on his daily trip. Although Shenqi is not clever. He understood the old man's words at night and subconsciously replied, Old man, do you want me to monitor him? Unbridled. The word surveillance angered the old man at night, and he was so angry that he grabbed the ashtray on the table and slammed it at Shenqi. Shenqi frightened stared big eyes, watching the heavy ashtray flying towards him. Crackle between, a figure rushed into the study. Pull Shenqi away from the in-situ. Bang. The ashtray hit where Shenqi stood just now and broke into several pieces. The sound was so loud that it shot Shenqi's heart. Shenqi stared big eyes, looked at the old knight in disbelief. Acting without discretion is particularly cruel. Isn't it said that night he himself, Grandpa, my sister minus in minus law is outspoken, and she misunderstood you. Shenqi Aiki discovered that the person who just pulled her away from her place was cold at night. Sister-in-law, my grandfather and I are just worried about Moshuan's health. It is very hard for him to manage such a large group alone. Besides, you must have learned something about his personality these days. Grandpa said this to you today, not to spy on Moshuan, because no matter how to say it in the future, this night will be his. And we will do it. Yes, to help him. Shenqi bit his lower lip and didn't say anything. Night he snorted. New way I thought Shen Yang's daughter was very smart, but I didn't expect to even say this kind of surveillance word. Do you want to spread my reputation at night? Married such a granddaughter? Grandpa, don't get angry. Say that finish. The night is still cold. Will Shenqi away from the study. Shenqi was probably frightened by the scene just now. But she still hasn't returned to her absolute being. She followed the cold night without saying a word, until a secluded place. The pace of the cold night stopped and turned to stare at her gently. Sister-in-law, just scare you? Did you get hurt? The night is still cold to want to hold her shoulder. Shenqi is conditioned to take a step back. The cold hand at night fluttered in the air and paused awkwardly in the air for a long time. Shenqi's lips opened and his head hung down. I'm sorry. Night Cold smiled and took his hand away. Go back. You don't take it to heart today. Grandpa really has no other meaning. There is some gap between him and Moshuan. He can't directly ask Moshuan about many things, so he can only let you convey it. Can you understand me when I say this? Shenqi nodded. It seems that I said, you may not have listened. Maybe your mind is too messy now. Go back first. Then I'll go first. It was not until the corner that the feeling of being sharp at the back disappeared. Shenqi steps, looking at the ground thinking. I didn't expect the water at home this night to be so deep. She is not a fool, and naturally knows what the old man's words mean. On the surface, it is concerned about the Nighting Port. But in fact it is to monitor him, and that cold night, always a gentle smile, giving a kind of ear. A gentle and courteous gentleman. Suddenly I found out that he was on the same side as the old man at night, and I also told her those high-minded sounding words. Sure enough, people look at the surface, just like Lin Zhang at the beginning. I always said that I was frigid and asked her to forgive him. But one day, I drove her out of the house with my mistress for 2 years and hid her for the whole years. The human heart is really the most terrible thing in the world. Shenqi didn't hate the Nighting Pavilion so much, because, like himself, he was rejected by his family. Around the corner, Shenqi's step suddenly stopped, because two people suddenly appeared in front of him. Xiao Su pushed the Nighting Porch and stood there, staring at her with cold eyes. If it was the previous mentality, Shenqi would probably turn around and leave, but after knowing that he was excluded by his own grandfather and brother, Shenqi's eyes at the Nighting Pavilion suddenly changed. I couldn't forget the fact that my child had been aborted by him. And turned around and laughed. Stop. Nighting Chuang drink her. Shenqi IDM was in the same place and looked back at him angrily. As an assistant, so absent for 2 days. Hearing this, Shenqi remembered what he had said to her in the study night before, and thought that he was not going to be an assistant at all, but to monitor her. So he simply said, don't you need an assistant? Then I won't wander in front of your eyes to add to your congestion. Do you think that the night people come whenever they want and leave whenever they want? Shunki frowned. What do you want? I said, why are you so ungrateful? It's a pity that we still think of you at night, leaving a bastard in your belly. And you are so right. Shut up, Nighting Chuan announced, shouts to silence. What did you say? Shunki instant incredibly stare big eye. That day in the hospital, she was already a fish on the chopping block. The feeling of cold equipment entering the body is still fresh in my memory. Did he stop the doctor at the last minute? It was night home. Don't think too much. I'm too lazy to do it for a woman like you. Nighting Chin cold voice afterwards. Lai Jiaosu pushed him to leave, looking at the back of two people. Shunki heart messy. How can it be? She thought the baby was long gone. Now brought up by Jiaosu, she suddenly remembered that when she woke up that day, her stomach did not change. Think he took out his mobile phone to call Cecilia Hanyu. After Cecilia Han came, she directly took her to the hospital for examination. When the doctor congratulated her on her pregnancy, Shunki was still confused. But she didn't expect. It seems that Emojuan in your mouth is not that kind of cold-blooded person. Shunki didn't refute. Hanging eyes don't know what's going on. What are you going to do next? I don't know. Let's take it one step at a time. Shunki doesn't have a life plan herself. I had been living for him from the beginning, and then I was asked by my parents to marry at night after divorce. Now there is only one purpose, that is to stay at night. But who is that strange man? Cecilia Han was curious to death. You said he slept with you, so you weren't afraid of getting pregnant or something. Why didn't I look for you, Sophia Cao? Have you ever thought about looking for this person? Looking for that strange man? I have no impression of him at all, and I have no idea what kind of person he is. It was raining too hard that day and it was too dark at night, so I couldn't see anything clearly. In addition, I am now the wife of Imo Zhuang. I will not be able to accommodate me at night. Well, I'll ask someone to find out for you and see if I can get any news. Thank you. However, I was bullied by everyone at school, but you stood up and saved me and beat me for me. Speaking of this, Cecilia Han thought of the days when she was in school. At that time she had not come to Han's home. She was still a poor man who was bullied at school. Saved her. Then they became good sisters. Back to the night home. Shunki directly back to the room. When she took the door, she found out why Imo Zhuan didn't go to the company. She was a little surprised. She wanted to think and walk towards him. Night Mo Zhuan is in a wheelchair, holding a financial magazine in one hand, next to a raised mobile table and a notebook. Shunki approached, only to find that he wore a Bluetooth headset on his ear, and a video was shown on his notebook. It's like a video conference. When Shunki reached his lips, he stopped and stood quietly listening to it. Go on, yes, take it as soon as possible. Night Mo Zhuan didn't talk much, most of them were short sentences. He never looked up and focused on the magazine. The plan is sent to the mailbox. About half an hour, the meeting finally ended. Shunki came in and stood until the end of his meeting. Seeing that the portrait on the screen disappeared, Shunki took a step forward. He didn't want to stay up all night but said coldly, don't come near me. Shunki steps stop at the same place. Imo Zhuan opened the login mailbox seriously and intently, and checked the mail. While it turns out that he has to deal with work, Shunki stopped bothering him and turned to leave. Shunki back. Unknown Soul stared at him. Wait here. Nighting Chin added. Shunki beautiful eyes stare big for a few minutes. Don't let him near. And don't let her go. Just want her to wait here. Nothing wrong, because Shunki knew that he had blamed him. He grabbed his collar that night and said that he was an animal and cruel. And an animal had more feelings than him. 1 minute passed, and Shunki didn't know how long he had been standing, only knowing that Imo Zhuan was particularly serious when dealing with his work, and she suddenly felt that a man who takes care of his work seriously is really handsome. Gradually, Shunki's legs are a little numb, but the Nighting Pavilion is still not over. Is he getting back at himself? He did this on purpose because he said that to him before? Thought of here, Shunki couldn't help but pucker up her eyebrows and bent down to rub her numb calf. The Nighting Porch eyes lifted to her. It seems to her, Shunki quickly stood up straight. Like a child who did something wrong. Less than an hour you can't stand. Nighting Porch raised my hand. Glanced then lips with a cold soul smile. Shunki lips moved, but said nothing. Shunki still didn't speak. At night, Mo Zhuan snorted and slammed his notebook. When he was about to leave, Shunki was in a hurry and nervously said, I'm sorry. Sharp eyes narrowed. Nighting Porch side eyes looked at her. I apologize for what happened the other day. Shunki solemnly said that finish, especially sincerely bent down and bowed to the Nighting Porch. Shunki see Nighting Chin eyes looked at her coldly. I thought what? Imo Zhuan's tone was cold and sarcastic. You don't think I have any thoughts about you by leaving this bastard, do you? Shunki was going to say an apology to him, but I didn't expect him to speak so bitterly. And his face turned white with embarrassment. Woman, I advise you to give up this idea as soon as possible. Imo Zhuan suddenly threw her a brown paper bag. The contract is signed. Shunki again wanted to stretch out his hand and took it, and the bag fell to her feet with a smack. Shunki hesitated for a moment before bending down to pick it up. When she opened the bag, she found that it was a post-marriage instruction. Nighting Chuan's voice was cold and there was no temperature. She looked up at him and saw that his eyes were black. She quickly browsed the contract. No matter you or your sister, it's trouble. So I'll only give you half a year. You leave the night home with this contract and check and don't come back. Words fall. Nighting Porchin put a check on the desktop. Seeing the check, Shunki felt a pot of cold water poured on his head. She was still thinking about the wording of her apology. I didn't expect him to have the contract and check ready. This money should be enough to fill your inner vanity, right? Shunki pinched the contract in her hand, and her fingertips turned white. She opened the pen cap, signed her name at the end. Then put the contract back, got up and walked slowly towards him. Imo Zhuan raised his eyebrows with satisfaction. A woman who can be sent away with money is the simplest. The next second, Shunki slapped the contract on the table. The Nighting Porch frowned discontentedly. You don't have to buy me off. I stayed at night to get what I needed. I appreciate you for not forcing me to abort the child, but it doesn't mean you can take money to humiliate me. Sniff. Night Mo Zhuan hissed aloud, and her eyes were sarcastic. A woman like you shouldn't regard money as her life. Shunki clenched his fist and wanted to argue with him. A moment later, I let go again and smiled lightly. That's right. Anyway, we just get what we need. I will leave when the time comes. She must think of a solution within this time. Very well, I am looking forward to the day when you leave. The next second, the petite figure turned away directly and didn't go to get the check on the table. Nighting porch narrowed his long and narrow eyes. There was a lot of money in that check. And is it fake or is it really not interested in money? If she is not interested in money, then what is the purpose of her marriage to the Night Home? Even if we get along with each other in a contractual mall, there will be a lot less quarrels, and she will still follow Yimoujuan to the company as an assistant under the appointment of the old man Knight. Shangqi is not stupid, and her working ability is okay. If she is given the opportunity to study, she can always seize the opportunity by herself. Within a week, Xiaosu had a different view of this woman. At night, she still has to brush his. She did everything she was told to do at night, and she did it well. It would be a fool to marry into a Night Home by means. Xiaosu choked to death and didn't answer. He bowed his head and checked the itinerary. There is a banquet in the evening. Do you want to take Miss Sheng with you at night? Take her. Night Moujuan lightly clasped the desktop between her finger, and her eyes were still staring at the contents of the notebook. Take her to make a fool of herself? Xiaosu dare not say anything more, but shut up. Later, they said something else and Xiaosu was ready to go out. Night Moujuan suddenly spoke. Call Shengqi. Oh, Xiaosu walked out of the office and couldn't help grinning. Night seems to have been doing face minus sobbing frequently recently. Just now, she said that Shengqi was a fool. Do you want to take her to the party? Shengkai's office is next door. When Xiaosu called her, she was processing some documents. Give me 2 minutes, I'll be ready soon. You don't want to die? Xiaosu leaned behind her and spoke seriously. I asked you to go there at night. Why don't you try delaying for another minute? Shengqi can only put the file down with a frown, after taking a deep breath. I know. Then got up and walked towards the office. As soon as Shengqi Gang entered the office, Xiaosu hid behind the door and listened to the wall. Yimoujuan asked her to work in the company. In the company, she is just his assistant, that's all. We should call him Little Knight like others, and use honorific S. At first, Shengqi was not used to it. Later, he called more times and gradually became numb. Nighting porch silently threw a golden invitation to her. Shengqi. I hesitated for a moment and picked it up. Shengqi's brain is spinning fast and his beautiful eyes are shining with strange light. I remember that Lu of Lu Group is also on the invited list. He should also attend this banquet. You can take this opportunity to talk to him about the intention of cooperation in advance at night. At night, the inky fungus of Moujuan flashed a touch of appreciation. Oh, this woman's reaction is quick and her memory is good. I'll go and prepare it for you right away. You go with me. She suddenly stopped and looked back at him doubtfully. Night Shao wants me to go with you. I don't like to talk about cooperation at the party. You go. Hearing this, Shengqi understood and nodded. I see. I will go and say hello to Manager Lu then. If it's okay, I'll go out first. Something's wrong. Nighting porch eyes looked at her coldly. The eyes looked at from beginning to end. Let Shengqi feel uncomfortable, subconsciously clamped his legs. Change your clothes. He frowned and said. Shengqi looked down at her clothes. They were all her previous clothes which were not very valuable. But she is comfortable to wear, and he hasn't said anything these days, so Shengqi has been wearing it. She bit her lower lip. I know, I'll go to the nearby shopping mall to change it later. Xiaosu, who stood outside listening to the wall, shivered with a jerk. Nani? Why did he get caught again? After listening to the wall twice and being found twice, Xiaosu vowed never to listen to the wall again. Rustling dare not dawdle, took his steps and walked towards the inside. Night Moujuan looked at him coldly, and Xiaosu received the message in his eyes. He tentatively asked, It's a little night, so I'll take Miss Sheng to choose the dress for tonight's party. Sure enough, Xiaosu breathed a sigh of relief. The three of them appeared in the mall together, and Shengqi followed them into a high-end shop with high-grade decoration and leisure. Young's music. Although Yimoujuan was in a wheelchair, the clothes on her body were valuable at first sight, and the gas field was strong. The quickly smiled warmly to entertain her. Hello. This gentleman, welcome to our shop. Night Moujuan looked indifferent, and his dark eyes didn't look at the clerk at all. Instead, Xiaosu behind him spoke. Choose a dress for her, which is suitable for the party. Shengqi hiding behind Xiaosu. In fact, she was afraid. The first time I went to this store, the decoration and the sparkling lights in the store made her a little embarrassed. In fact, she used to come to this place with her good friends, but she had forgotten these days when she married Lin Zhang. The clerk was still smiling on his face, but after seeing what Shengqi was wearing, the smile on his face would hang. Yes, Xiaosu nodded. Serious, I'll give her a good choice. Don't make any mistakes. The clerk took Shengqi towards the inside. After a while, Shengqi changed it. A black and white skirt came out, because it was the night boss who brought her, so the clerk led her to consult the Nighting Pavilion. Shengqi's face slightly changed, turned around and changed another one. It was pure black, and Yi Moujuan frowned. Shengkai silently tightened his fingers and continued to turn around. Nighting Hin frowned more tightly. The temperature in the shop seems to be covered by his cold air pressure. When the clerk led her out again, the Nighting Pavilion slammed the magazine on the table. Shengqi got a fright and subconsciously bit his lower lip. Or don't try. A Nighting porch that doesn't disdain her eyes let Shengqi almost read its head. She knew she didn't tort. Not suitable for wearing these skirts according to her temperament. Don't hold up. It is a joke to wear these expensive skirts on her. Shengqi. Yi Moujuan unexpectedly said, don't give her the old fashion one. Words fell. Nighting. Zhouan's sharp eyes fell on the shop assistant. The clerk suddenly felt a threat on her shoulder. She turned a little white and nodded blankly. I see. She felt the warning in the man's eyes that if she continued to choose clothes carelessly, she might be in danger of being fired. This man's eyes are deep and bottomless, but he feels very powerful. He has such ability. So the clerk quickly took out the calm money in the store, and then went into the fitting room with Shengqi. This skirt is very expensive. Let me try it on with you. No, I'll do it myself. Shengqi is not used to having someone watching her undress. The clerk listened and complained discontentedly. If you don't let me help you with such an expensive skirt, can you afford it if you break it? Look at what you were wearing before, a bunch of cheap goods. After changing clothes several times, the clerk knew that Shengqi was a soft person. Did not dare to offend the Nighting porch. Then caught her pinched a few. Shengqi didn't speak, because he was poked at the center, so he was embarrassed. Alright, try it yourself so as not to sue me later. The clerk threw the clothes at her directly, then slammed the door and went out. Shengqi stood there with the skirt. The skirt is really expensive, as the shop assistant said, which is very different from those old fashion skirts she tried before. After the change, Shengqi went out with a skirt and looked in the direction of the Nighting porch. But it was empty and there was no one there. Shunki's heart thumped. Why did people disappear? I was just looking around for the shadow of the Nighting Pavilion when I suddenly heard a familiar voice. Honey, how do I wear this skirt? Shunki steps, and then steps uncontrolled to the other side, so big clothes rack blocked her body. But let her see clearly the two people in front. It's Lin Zhang and that pregnant mistress. The two snuggled up to each other intimately, and the woman's stomach was already very big. And it was obvious that the skirt in her hand could not be worn. It's a pity that I can't wear it now. Nothing, as long as Bauer likes it. Then buy it and wait for you to wear it after giving birth. Thank you, husband. You are so kind to me. How had Lin Zhang ever been so sweet to her before? I didn't expect to meet them here today. Small three eyes looked this way. Shunki is surprised. Subconsciously I had to go back. When I turned around, I accidentally bumped into the clerk who came to look for her. The clerk subconsciously reached out and grabbed Shunki's skirt. Then with a hiss the skirt cracked, including Lin Zhang and his mistress. After falling, the clerk found that the skirt was broken and panicked. Do you know how much this skirt costs? You actually broke it on purpose? Shunki was stunned. She just didn't want those two people to find themselves there. Here, I didn't expect to turn around and hit someone, only to find that the decoration on the skirt had actually fallen off, revealing her white shoulders. Seeing that everyone else in the shop was coming around, Shunki was so scared that he reached out and covered his shoulder. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. This skirt is a rare item in the shop. It was just sent from Italy yesterday, but its value is over 300,000 yuan. Can you restore this skirt to its original state? Shunki bit his lower lip and whispered, I'll mend it for you. Phil, how to make up? The clerk complained louder and louder. And everyone else in the shop gathered around. Being pointed around by everyone like this, Shunki was almost ashamed, and his eyes were dizzy. Hey, isn't this Xiaoxian? Saw Shunki's awkward appearance, she couldn't help but laugh. She sneered. One usually only wears 4 stalls. And one dresses 2. A woman with $30 actually came to a brand store. You also broke somebody else's skirt, Shunki. Are you here to undermine me? Hearing this, the clerk next to immediately stared big eyes. What did you say? So you came to sabotage it on purpose? This skirt costs at least 300,000 you pay. Small threesome will laugh aloud. The laughter is as clear as a bell. Well, she can afford it. She used to work for more than 3,000 yuan a month. But now she has lost her job, and I am afraid she can't afford even a stall. Did Lin Zhang tell her? I said, Shunkai, if you really can't afford it, you might as well ask Lin Zhang. Maybe Lin Zhang will help you in the past. Listen, Shunki hand a shake, subconsciously looked Lin Zhang. When their eyes met, Lin Zhang hesitated for a moment, and his eyes flashed a little uncomfortable. Do you want to help her? Lin Zhang lowered his head and looked at his charming face. Brilliant, GQ and Bao gently coughed and hugged her. Bauer, how could I help a woman other than you? Especially a woman who deliberately came to the store to dismantle Taiwan is even less worthy of help. These words fell into Shunki's ears without a word. Suddenly, Shunki's lower lip was bitten and bled by her. Oh, dear. Although it is annoying for her to come here to do things, how pitiful she is now. That's Curtis 300,000. She can't afford to pay for it today. Will she be detained here? This sentence reminded the clerk, and the clerk immediately took out his mobile phone. I will call the police now. Shunki suddenly looked up and called the police. A woman like this has a strong vanity. She will try on other people's clothes in the store. If she can't afford it, she will destroy it. Must call the police. A few spectators also chimed in. Yes. How can she let such a person come into the store? Today's woman doesn't know what kind of person she is. She won't think she's coming in. Try on the skirt and it will really be a famous brand, right? Well, now that the clothes are broken, can't you compensate them? It's killing me. The police will come later. We have to educate this kind of woman for a while, or it will happen next time. Laughter and disdain eyes swell up from all directions. Make Shunki whole person to shame. Why Imo Zhuang? Where are you? Why did you leave without me? Am I going to embarrass you like this? Shunki felt terrible in his heart, and his eyes gradually became red. She gently raised her head and looked at the people around her pointing at her. The abusive voice and contemptuous eyes made her lift her head, and her petite body trembled. This feeling of despair made her almost dizzy. Shunki has a problem, that is. When he is nervous or desperate to the extreme, he will feel dizzy. It was obvious that the eyes were getting dark, and she could hardly see the faces of those people in front of her. The darkness almost enveloped her. As Shunki couldn't bear it, she fell down beside her, but a big hand held her in time. Those big hands are warm and powerful, and they firmly hold Shunki's falling body. Seems to be quiet around for a while. Shunki horribly pale. Eyes a little bright. Straight and tight legs first broke into her line of sight, and Shunki's eyes gradually went up, only to see clearly the man who held her. A man's eyes are deep, his eyebrows are cold and sharp, and his thin lips, like a knife. And his whole body exudes the spirit of yin. They were pressed back to steps by this momentum, and looked at the man who suddenly appeared. Who is he? Shunki had little strength, but was still sitting there for a long time, looking up at the Nighting porch. You didn't leave? She thought his clothes were too ugly, so he left. Still not up, black as paint eyes gripped her. Nighting Hin low voice asked first. Listen to word. Shunki returned to absolute being, want to follow his gestures to stand up, but when I got up I found that the skirt cracked loudly. And the hem of the skirt was heavily rusted, which was quite heavy. When I stood up, the skirt would slide down. No, I can't. Shunki bit his lower lip and said embarrassed lie. Skirt will fall off, and it will run out. Nighting porch narrow eyes narrowed slightly, looking at her. Shunki feels really useless. Why is he so humiliated at this time? Will Yimo Shuang leave her alone? Just leave? Just thinking. A coat covered her body. And Shunki suddenly raised her head, and a pair of frightened eyes so unconsciously crashed into the fundus of the Nighting porch. You and don't get up? Shunki had to quickly pull up his suit jacket, and then stood up with the strength of the Nighting porch. His hand was generous and warm, and the temperature passed to Shunki through the blood along the palm of his hand, and he got into her heart strongly. After Shunki stood up, the Nighting porch withdrew his hand coldly, and Shunki suddenly felt empty. The coat on her body hung over her with a strong smell of mint. Shunki, who was still very nervous and worried, suddenly felt that she seemed to have relied on it at the moment. I tried to feel protected. Who pushed her down? The sound of the ink pavilion at night is as cold as the water across the bluestone in the deep mountains, cold and thin. The clerk had already finished the phone call, and now he saw that the situation in front of him suddenly turned around, and some eyes widened in terror. Her attitude towards Shenki was okay because of the sitting. The man in the wheelchair looked bad to provoke, but she clearly saw it after she came out just now. The man disappeared. She thought that the man felt that Shenki was hopeless, so she left without her. The clerk rolled his eyes and thought of the scene just now, but he didn't dare to be quiet. I ask again, who pushed her down? This time the Senhan and the voice of Mojuan at night came to me with a sweeping momentum, which surprised the people who ate melons. How can he have such a strong momentum? A melon eater who accused Shenki just now saw it and was afraid of being hurt. He quickly pointed to the clerk and said, "It's the clerk who accused loudly, so we just came to watch." Yes, the clerk said that the young lady broke the skirt on purpose and has called the police. The shop assistant, who was arrogant just now, was too timid to speak at all. After being pushed out by others, she waved her hand in a panic and said, "No, sir, it was this young lady who accidentally bumped into her and then fell down and broke her clothes. It's none of my business." It was indeed that she accidentally fell and broke her skirt. No wonder others did. Really? With a sneer, her voice rose a little. Did she really fall by herself? The clerk was so scared by the cold air pressure on him that his lips moved and he dared not speak. Seeing the situation turn around, Shi Qianbao was somewhat unconvinced. How did this happen? It's just a cripple. What are you thinking? Shenki, you fell down and broke something yourself. Now someone runs out to support you. Do you think you can just pass the buck to others? No wonder Lin Zhang doesn't want you. 19HIN captured what information? I suddenly a power sweep to Shi Qianbao's side, who was hugging Shi Qianbao, felt the air pressure in his whole body cool down and looked up at the man's eyes. The man's sharp eyes in the shadow under his eyes made Lin Zhang slightly frightened, and his arm around Shi Qianbao tightened a little. He whispered, "Bauer, why don't we go first and leave them alone? I can't." Shi Qianbao took his arm, pouted his lips and said, "Lin Zhang, if we go directly, won't anyone speak out for the clerk? Obviously, it's not her fault. That's Curtis 300,000 yuan. Shen Kai and that man are definitely not want to take responsibility." Since Lin Zhangzong won 5 million lottery tickets, Shi Qianbao has always felt that she has stepped onto the peak of her life. They are rich people. Shi Qianbao's vision is small. Plus she is a pregnant woman, and everywhere she goes with a big belly, people let her, and she has begun to expand slowly. Plus now that Lin Zhang is rich, she has dumped the original match and helped her to the HU Otang legally, and Shi Qianbao can be said to be expanding more and more. Shi Qianbao looked at the man in a wheelchair and snorted, "Look at you in a wheelchair. You certainly don't even have a job. Do you? I'm telling you, this skirt is no ordinary skirt, worth 300,000. If you want to stand up for her, you have to weigh whether you have that ability. Can anyone come to this store these days? Do you really think you are rich by pretending to be yourself? Don't look at your pockets, Shenki. Shenki, I thought what a good man you found after you left Lin Zhang. It turned out to be just a lame man in a wheelchair. Right? Yi Mojuan hates it when people say he is disabled. This topic is taboo at night, and no one dares to say it. But it was said openly by Shi Qianbao. At night, Mojuan's eyes were surging, and Zhao Su behind him knew that he was angry and just wanted to go forward and stop. "Don't you say that about it." Originally standing beside the night ink porch eyes, Shen Kai suddenly raised his head and protested loudly. The sudden sound startled everyone. Everyone didn't think that Shenki, who was miserable and bullied into not talking back, would change in order to maintain the night ink pavilion. What makes you say that about others? Since the last night he called her to talk in the study, Shenki found that the family was not sincere about the night ink porch. And the night ink porch didn't really let her abort the baby, so Shenki's attitude towards him changed. She knows the inferiority complex. Originally this is the trauma in his heart, and it is also mentioned by others as a waste. How hurt should Mojuan's heart be that night, Shenki? I'm just trying to persuade him. Do you have any idea how much your damaged skirt is worth? You can't afford to pay for it yourself. Do you still want that cripple to help you pay for it? Shi Qianbao sighed and looked very distressed, in fact, for the sake of taking care of Lin Zhang for so many years. If you kneel down and beg me, I might ask Lin Zhang to help you. Shenki trembled with anger. Don't be so angry. It's only $300,000. As long as I'm willing to talk, Lin Zhang will still be willing to give it to me. He has been spoiling me for so many years, which is nothing compared with you. A small freak. Although now has been righted, but let her throw its weight around in front of their own, Shenki or not. Whisking just want to play in her face. However, before Shenki met her, Shi Qianbao screamed and fell backwards, exclaiming, "I helped you with kindness, and you actually hit someone. How can there be such a person?" Husband. Lin Zhang quickly stepped forward to hold her. Shi Qianbao grabbed Lin Jiang's arm and gasped, "Husband. She hit me. This person is so unappreciates. Please teach her a lesson for me quickly." Lin Zhang is a little embarrassed. After all, anyone with a discerning eye can see that Shenki's hand hasn't touched Shi Qianbao just now. "Please teach her a lesson for me quickly." Lin Zhang was helpless and whispered, "Bauer is good. She didn't hit you just now. Let's go first and don't make trouble." Hearing this, Shi Qianbao suddenly blushed. "Lin Zhang, did you see her old lover Kindle? Don't you love me? She bullied me and my baby." Can't. Lin Zhang had to sip lips, and then walked over to Shenki. So he stared at him and walked to his face. His eyes were bare. Sophia Cow, "I'm sorry." Shenki I smile. "So you want to teach me a lesson for her? I'm really sorry. I have to take it out on Bauer." Speaking of which, Lin Zhang slowly raised his hand. Shenki bit his lower lip, and tears were already rolling in his eyes. "What did I do badly? For 2 years, you did this to me." Seeing her tears, Lin Jiang's eyes flashed a bit unbearable, but the woman behind him urged her charmingly, and Lin Zhang whisked her face. The tears in Shenki's eyes stopped, and he looked at the slap in the face in disbelief and closed his eyes in despair. Glittering tears slipped in the corner of my eyes. But after Shenki closed his eyes, the pain never came. "Have you asked me about the woman who wants to hit me at night?" I don't know when. The night ink porch actually came to her side and raised my hand to block Lin Jiang's wrist. See him always sitting at ordinary times, so Shenki doesn't know his height. But at the moment he raised his hand to stop Lin Zhang, Shenki realized that the night ink pavilion was very high, although she was in a wheelchair, in front of Lin Zhang standing. The aura was not weak at all. On the contrary, pressure Lin Zhang one end, 19HIN. Did I hear you wrong? Night Hong to look. My god. I have long heard that Yi Ji Ershao is in a wheelchair. Oh, my god. Why didn't we think about it just now? This man's aura is so strong, I'm afraid it's only the Nighting Pavilion. Looks so handsome, I just wanted to ask who this man is, but I didn't expect it to be the night manager of the Night family. So who is the woman he just helped? I don't know, I haven't seen him, but he must be a very important person. Other people's comments fell into Shang-Ki's ears every word. When I heard that last sentence, Shang-Ki's heart seemed to have been hit hard by something heavy. Lin Jiang just looked at the Nighting porch, obviously no reaction to come over. Xiao Su stepped forward in time, threw Lin Jiang's hand off, sneered, we can't afford to pay for a 300,000 skirt at night. Don't say it's 300,000, even if it's 30 million or 300 million, the Night group doesn't care. Lin Jiang stepped back to steady himself. And Shi Q and Bao quickly stepped forward to help. Husband, are you okay? Did you hurt anywhere? I'm fine. Lin Jiang was stunned by the dark eyes of Mo Zhuan at night, and he didn't return to absolute being until Shi Q and Bao spoke beside him. Shi Q and Bao stood up with a big belly and argued with Xiao Su. Who are you? How dare you attack my husband? Do you believe I called the police? Xiao Su wanted to argue with her. After all, in his eyes there is no distinction between men and women. But when he saw her, when the big belly came, Xiao Su hesitated. One thing about pregnant women is good. If she quarrels with you, you can't do anything to her. It will all be on your head. Xiao Su took 2 steps back. Shi Q and Bao smiled smugly, took a look at Mo Zhuan with his waist inserted, and then looked at Shang-Ki, sneering. Shang-Ki, where did you find the lame actor? In a wheelchair, wearing a CEO. Even if you need an actor to support you, you should be reliable. I know you're angry that Lin Jiang abandoned you, but don't be so vulgar and taste okay. What imperial president, you all made it up, eh? Shi Q and Bao looked at the clerk who was standing on the side. Don't you come here quickly? Didn't they say they could afford it? Hurry up and ask them for compensation. I'll see if it's really affordable or just lip service. The clerk's sister reacted and stepped forward. I'm really sorry, this skirt is really expensive. Please pay it to me quickly. Once Buddy was speechless. Nighting porch cold face sitting there without any action. Xiao Su, because his master did not move, he naturally did not move. Laugh me to death. This is can't afford to lose. Still install the president. Nighting Hin eyebrows picked. Xiao Su immediately gathered together in the past. Shang-Ki see Nighting Hin then moved. Xiao Su eyes flashed a bit surprised. Looked where Shang-Ki. In fact, she had no idea. She just started working as his assistant for a few days, and then she got into trouble. Xiao Su soon left, leaving the Nighting porch with Shang-Ki in the shop. Shang-Ki knew that she was in trouble, but she didn't expect the Nighting pavilion to help her solve it. So he went up to the clerk and said, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to break the skirt. Please write me a bill and I will repay it in installments. Staging, the clerk blinked, trying to resist. But because of the aura of the Nighting Zhuang, he dared not do anything, but there was obviously an unwilling mood in his eyes. By stages, although I can't afford it now, it will be full one day. Could you please tell my boss for me? Don't say it. Shi Q and Bao chimed in again and sneered, this is a skirt that started at 300,000 yuan. You can pay it in installments. Then I can calculate that even if you don't eat or drink a month according to your salary, you can still pay 3,000 yuan. Right? That's only 36,000 a year, plus interest, and you have to pay it back for 10 years. Shang-Ki, it doesn't matter to you. People are just working. Do you want to embarrass them? The clerk was so anxious when she said this, I have called the police. Tell the police what you have to say later. Shang-Ki bit his lower lip and turned pale. Shanghai, the disabled behind you is not the president. Why don't you beg him to help you pay it back? Didn't you just pretend to be decent? Why don't you return it now? It really makes people laugh. What's the matter? Didn't that man say that he was a Nighting pavilion? The second nightclub can't even afford a skirt? Pretend to be. But his gas field is so strong that he doesn't look like a fake. Simple, check online. Yes, it is impossible to find the information of the night home. Just as the people eating melons finally got the news of the Nighting pavilion from Beidou, Xiao Su came back, and 2 or 3 people followed him. When the clerk saw one of them, he immediately greeted him, boss, you finally came. Just now, a female guest broke her skirt. The shopkeeper ignored her and walked in the direction of Mo Zhuang, bowing in front of him. It's a little night. Why didn't you come to my shop without warning? I'll call someone to entertain me. They say she came Bao Sung surprised to blink. This is how to return a responsibility. Your shop. Nighting porch lift eyes as looked at him coldly. Shopkeeper. Xiao Su stepped forward and handed a contract to Mo Zhuang. Night is little. What you ordered has been solved. Nighting engine lifted. Xiao Su nodded and walked to the front of Shang-Ki to give her the contract. Night Xiao has bought this whole shopping mall. It will be Miss Shang's industry in the future and will be owned by Miss Shang Ha. Lips slightly open, eyes looking up. Everyone was surprised. To buy the whole mall? This is the most prosperous area in the North City. Who said he was pretending to be just now? Also framed that people can't afford it. That pregnant woman looks like a nouveau rich. It is estimated that having a few dollars is great. And listen to her tone of voice. As if used to be few sang. How come there are such people now? Third, others are still proud of it. Has this world changed or can I look at it? The situation suddenly twisted and Shi Q and Bao was caught off guard. She thought Shang-Ki was finished today, and she couldn't afford to pay for the dress. So Shi Q and Bao took the opportunity to make her look good, but who knew it would turn around? The man in a wheelchair beside her is really the second youngest in the Night family. Hurry up, Xiao Su saw Shang-Ki standing in a daze, and directly put the contract into Shang-Ki's hand. Shang-Ki whole person is still stupid. If Nighting Hin ruthless, but he. Why did you buy this whole mall and give it to her? After Xiao Su put the contract into the hands of Shang-Ki. Shang-Ki subconsciously looked into the Nighting pavilion. Nighting porch lift eyes slowly toward Shang-Ki, held out his hand. Come here. His voice seemed magical, urging Shang-Ki to just walk towards him. When he came to him, Mo Zhuan held her wrist and her eyes were burning. Sophia Cao, the whole shopping mall is yours now. If you don't want to see these irrelevant people, you can let them all go. Nighting porch voice is low. At the moment he deliberately low voice called her name. Voice magnetic dark. Shang-Ki felt his soul was cold eyes to suck in, just nodded. How is this possible? Buy the whole mall, Shang-Kai? She thought that after Lin Jiang won the lottery, she was rich enough, and finally she could show off in front of Shang-Ki, who knew that her new man bought the whole shopping mall for her without blinking. Her domineering attitude startled Shang-Ki. Night Mo Zhuang grabbed her wrist and pulled her behind him, sneering Xiao Su. Xiao Su stepped forward and stood in her way. Elder sister, if you go forward again, I will call the police directly and accuse you of home invasion and personal attack. Strike and slander. You, what do you call me? Shikyu Inbao was injured by his name. And stepped back a few steps. Lin Zheng quickly stepped forward to hold her power. Let's go. I don't go, you listen to what he called me. I am only a few years old this year, and he actually let's go. Lin Zheng knew that they were not easy to handle, so he quickly took Shikyu Inbao away. The crowd eating melons gradually dispersed and the clerk stood in the same place with his legs trembling. It's over. She knew that the man was not an ordinary person. She didn't want to offend Shengqi originally, but then it happened by mistake. The shop assistant plopped down on the cold floor and his legs were weak. Zhao Su's near at one walked over to her. Miss, we have all seen the video. You grabbed the dress before you fell. This dress is really worth more than 300,000 as you said, so make compensation. The clerk was sweating like rain. Where is she going to find 300,000 to pay for it? The shop assistant was stupefied for a long time, and suddenly climbed down at the feet of the Nighting Pavilion. Nightless, I really didn't mean it. It's her. The shop assistant pointed to Shengqi. Stared at her and accused. It was because she knocked me down that I reached for her skirt. I really didn't mean to. Sophia Cao, how do you want to decide? Shengqi was still in a daze, and the soft voice of the Nighting porch rang again. Why? Why does a man who was so cold to her a second ago become so tender at this moment? Is she dreaming? Miss Shanghai, please give me a break. I really didn't mean it, and you know it yourself. The clerk asked Shengqi when he saw Mo Zhuan at night. Only then did he deeply know that she was the one who could make decisions, and then he climbed to Shengqi's feet with a brush, holding her gaff in tears and tongue. Shengqi suddenly returned to absolute being, looked down at her. The shop assistant was full of tears and choked up. I don't have much money to work here for a month. I have a child waiting to go to school at home. Miss Shan, please spare me. Listening to her situation seems to be very similar to her previous situation. She doesn't get much salary every month, but she has to subsidize her family and can't save any money at all. You get up first. I can't blame you all. Really, Miss Shen Kao? I know it's not easy to work, and you didn't mean it. Speaking of which, Shengqi subconsciously looked at the Nighting Pavilion. Although Zhao Su has said that the mall belongs to her, it is still his Nighting Pavilion, so Shengqi still wants to ask his opinion. Same thing. Nighting porch eyes like ice as cold as his dark suit. You make your own decisions. Then whispered to her, forget it this time. Say that finish. Shengqi looked at the Nighting porch again. Nighting porch narrowed his eyes slightly, but the expression on her face didn't change. Should she also agree with her decision? You are really a great person. I thank you for my whole family. The clerk was so excited that he cried, just holding Shengqi and calling for a benefactor. Being praised like this for the first time, Shengqi was a little embarrassed and could only smile awkwardly. Don't thank me. Go to work first. Good, then I'll go and tidy my clothes. Say that finish. The clerk left soon. As soon as the clerk left, a cold voice sounded. Is such a man worth your life to save that child? Shengqi was a little confused, and his brain crashed for a long time before he came to his senses. Nighting porch is the child in her belly is Lin Zheng. After all, everyone except Shengqi knows that she is pregnant and will openly think that it is the child of her ex-husband, Lin Zheng. After 2 years of marriage, it is normal for them to be pregnant with his child. No one would have thought that Shengqi was pregnant with a stranger's child. Shengqi's lips moved, but she couldn't say a word. Say that the child is not Lin Jiang's? Whose is that? Just add more embarrassment to yourself. Thought of here, Shengqi lowered his eyes. Stupid. Nighting porch tone slightly raised a sarcastic smile on his lips. Then, without waiting for Shengqi's reaction, the Nighting porch turned her wheelchair and walked out. When Shengqi returned to absolute being, Xiao Su also followed him and pushed him. Shengqi wanted to catch up with him, only to find that she was still wearing that skirt. So she had to go to the fitting room to change. When she came out, the clerk brought another I-catching skirt. Miss Sheng, you are going to the party, right? But Shengqi looked at the empty drawer. The in the mind's empty. Nighting porch is left without her this time. Miss Sheng, the night is so good to you. She must be waiting for you outside. You should change your skirt first. Under the persuasion of the clerk, Shengqi had to change the skirt. When she finished out, but Hao also can't see the shadow of the Nighting porch. She was a little frustrated and bowed her head and bit her lower lip. Sheng Kan, what are you expecting? And you start to fantasize. Shengqi walked forward with his head down. What are you dawdling about? Cook together. Sita's worse rare. And Shengqi suddenly looked up at the sound source. There is a coffee shop next door. And the Nighting Pavilion is just in the outermost seat, with a cup of coffee in front of it. Xiao Su stood behind him with a straight face and finally said, Miss Sheng, I have been waiting for you for a long time at night. You are really keeping people waiting. Xiao Su thought about the last sentence but didn't say. Mainly because the Nighting porch today's move is so weird. What he did completely exceeded Xiao Su's expectations. When has there ever been a woman by the side of Wei Mo Zhuan? He suddenly called himself to say that there was a woman, but he didn't know what happened at all. It was not until a month later that he found out that they had sex, but at this time, the old man forced him to marry another woman. That is, Shengqi Na. Relying on the character of the Nighting porch, it was difficult not to torture her to death. But who knows, he actually made moves when Shanghai was bullied. Even if you shoot, you are still so generous. I bought the whole mall in one fell swoop. It's nothing for the Knight family's industry, but it's Shanghai after all, a woman who is not recognized by the Nighting house. On this side, after seeing the Nighting Pavilion, Shengqi's loss in her heart gradually dissipated, and her beautiful eyes lit up. And then quickly goes to the Nighting porch. You didn't leave. You don't have to listen carefully at all. But you can hear a touch of joy in Shengqi's voice. Nighting porch frowned. What's the matter with this woman? The attitude towards him now is completely different from that before. Nighting porch narrowed his eyes and laughed, but didn't answer her. Shanghai gently coughed and volunteered. Let me push you. Xiao Su said, automatically let aside. Shanghai occupied his position, and then pushed the Nighting porch forward. And Xiao Su kept up with it with a straight face. Shanghai Ting porch just lost mood has become bright at the moment, but this situation didn't last long. Because she was talkative and asked first, Mo Zhuang, why do you want to help me? This question is very hesitant. Because Shengqi is not sure in his heart. Sitting in a wheelchair, Nighting porch dazed. Deep eyes suddenly narrowed dangerously. What are you imagining? In a word, like a pot of cold water poured on Shengqi's head, dispelling all her illusions. Shengqi's action was obviously stunned. Before she could speak, Mo Zhuang went on to attack. You won't think that I have an idea for you by buying a shopping mall for you. Why in the woman who got married twice and left a bastard for love rat? I won't take it at night, understand? If Shanqi still has a little fantasy just now, he has been attacked by Lan King's words at the Night King Pavilion at the moment. She turned pale and her fingers tightened silently. I didn't think so. Are you? Then who are you smiling at? Shanqi, I warn you. You are just my assistant. Shanqi bit his lower lip and said nothing. I help you, but I don't want you to lose face at home. Knight Mozhuang, who had a little warmth before, has now become the one who can't hold anyone in his eyes. No wonder he suddenly changed his temper. She also said that she bought the whole shopping mall for her, but she only cared about the face of the Knight family. Now it's revealed by the Night King porch. Besides embarrassment, Shanqi doesn't know what's left. With behind the people, Xiaosu Nature also heard the conversation. He dismissed the Night King Hin so Lan King. He never knew that Night King Hin is a person who cares about Night home reputation. Otherwise, he wouldn't go his own way. However, for a girl, this remark is indeed a bit too much. Shanqi's mood has dropped a lot, and his pace has slowed down a few beats. Xiaosu stepped forward and asked, Miss Shun. Letting this year Shanqi reacted and shook his head no. I'll do it. What she thought would have been in her arms that contract handed back to the Night King porch. Yi Mozhuang raised his eyebrows and sneered. Are you playing with me? In the face of his mocking eyes, Shen Qiuqi understood what he meant by this sentence. She pursed her lips and pressed down her restless heart. A pair of watery eyes resumed their original amorous feelings. I know you are acting, but thank you. The contract will of course be returned to you. She doesn't think that Yi Mozhuang will really buy the whole shopping mall and give it to her. Even if he really bought it for her, she wouldn't necessarily want it. He has always regarded her as a vain person. If he accepts these again at this time, his vain image will be nailed to the iron plate in his eyes. Shen Qi's hand movements were a meal, and he replied stubbornly, I won't want something that doesn't belong to me. Knight Mozhuang seemed to be choked. And a moment later, there was a touch of sarcasm in his deep eyes, and he sneered, I know that I am an unscrupulous woman in your eyes. Since I am such a person, you should not give me these things, otherwise it will not achieve my goal. Woman, do you have such a small appetite? Being choked. He bit his lip angrily and said, of course not. The more she talks back to Mozhuang at night, the more real she looks. She is much cuter than those people who obviously want it, but on the surface, they always show that I don't want it and I'm not interested, and then secretly lay hands on it. Miss Shenghan, there is really no reason to take back what we gave away at night. You better keep it. Xiaosu see the people have been deadlocked. So we have to come forward to kindly said first. Shenghan was angry. She didn't want others to look down on herself. She clenched her fist and just wanted to say something. What do you think for nothing? That's Curtis 300,000. Do you think it's unnecessary to return it? Shen Qi slightly opened his lips. What do you mean? When Shen Qi wanted to ask questions again, they had already reached the front of the car. No way. Shen Qi had to get on the bus first. Don't wake up before you reach your destination, Miss Shen Ho. Xiaosu sitting in the location kindly reminded one. What a quirk. Shen Qi's helpless in the hands of the contract, such as 1,000 JNs. She looked at the Night King Hin close eyebrow. There is a faint blue under the narrow eyes. Shen Qi will be full of words back, holding the contract to the next position by the by. After driving for a while, she suddenly, but also a little sleepy, drowsy by the seat. Just as she was about to fall asleep, the car suddenly stopped. Shen Qi opened his eyes. Miss Sheng, please. Xiaosu got off and opened the door for Shen Qi. Shen Qi just saw his one eye, turned head to want to see the Night King porch. Miss Sheng Huan. There is only half an hour left before we go to the party. Shen Qi nodded clearly and bent down to get off. Xiaosu took her to a shop. Hey, what a sight for Sir eyes. A fashionable, tall woman in the shop came forward and looked behind Xiaosu. Night is less at rest, Sister Jing. This is your task today. Xiaosu pushed Shen Qi to Jingji. Shen Kai was a little hasty. This is? Sister Jing narrowed her eyes and looked at Shen Qi for a while. When will he, Sister Jing? We will attend the party in half an hour. She is an assistant. Please hurry up, okay? Come with me. Shen Qi didn't dare to delay the time. Anne was taken inside by Jingji. Xiaosu raised her hand and looked at the time, hoping that Jingji could speed up. And after closing the door, Shen Qi discovered that there were two worlds inside and outside. This can be said to be a big cloakroom, shining everywhere. Tie your hair and take off your clothes and shoes. But I just put on this skirt. Sister Jing looked back at her and smiled for a while. This skirt really suits you, but it doesn't suit your identity tonight. It's smart for the assistant to wear. Shen Kai just understood. Sister Jing took a look at Shen Qi in her spare time, and saw that she was hiding in the corner to take off her clothes. When she came into contact with her eyes, Shen Qi's white face suddenly flew onto Huang Yan's. And then she dared not move. Huh? Where can Yi Mozhuang find such an interesting woman? How innocent is it to blush when you change clothes? Sister Jing cleaned up for a while and handed her a white suit. Put this on. Shen Qi quickly stretched out his hand and took it, then turned around and cleverly changed clothes. Sister Jing stared at her back for a while, then suddenly evoked her lips and asked. Are you boyfriend and girlfriend with Mozhuang? Listen, Shen Qi paused. No. Is that him pursuing you? Shen Qi frowned slightly and just wanted to explain the relationship between them. In fact, you don't have to say that I understand that Mozhuang brought a woman to me for the first time. Sister Jing, you misunderstood. I'm just his assistant. Shen Qi won't forget those words that Mozhuang told her at night. She is only his assistant outside, but even if she goes home at night, she won't be his wife. Shen Kai has all these self-minus knowledge. This marriage is all about getting what you want, assistant. Sister Jing looked at her thoughtfully with this title for a long time, and then sighed. You say you are an assistant. Come and sit here when your clothes are changed. Shen Qi walked over and Jingji began to adjust her hair. Do you want to do your hair? Of course you can't do this. Sister Jing's speed is very fast. She did some hair care for her, and cut her the bangs first. And the hair is very soft. The two bangs cut by Sister Jing are attached to her cheeks in a supple way, which gives her a modified face, and the ends of her hair are rolled into waves and fluffy. Then put on makeup. Done. Shen Qi sat fast asleep. Sister Jing suddenly snapped her fingers in front of her. Shen Qi got affrighted and suddenly opened her eyes. In the mirror, a woman with white complexion, long hair and red lips was reflected. How about it? Are you scared by your own beauty? Crystal elder sister, one hand on the desktop. Garadini went her way. Shen Qi leaned forward and looked at herself in the mirror, but she felt unreal. There is no doubt that it is yourself. Your facial features are very 3-dimensional and your skin has a good foundation. It's just that you usually neglect to take care of it and your skin is a little dry. Take this bottle of spray with you. If you feel that your skin is dry, spray it. Usually buy more masks to maintain yourself. Being taught by Sister Jing, Shenki stammered and nodded okay. Okay, it's beautiful. Shenki suddenly became at a loss. Just at this time, Xiaosu hurried outside, and Sister Jing took her out. Xiaosu was shocked when he saw Shenki. He pointed at her lips and shook them for a long time. Finally he said, Night Xiao has woken up, Nisha. Let's go. Here the night Jin woke up Shenki subconsciously nervous. Sister Jing accompanied her to the outside. The door was open. The Night porch sat inside. The notebook in front of her was on. His slender fingers were flying on the keyboard. His ears were pinned with a Bluetooth headset. And his thin lips occasionally moved, as if he were dealing with the work. The night is less okay. Xiaosu said in a low voice. And looked at them coldly in their direction. The first night at Mozhuang was just a casual glance. When I glanced over Shenki, the ink color of fundus across a stunning, but soon hidden in the fundus, others didn't find. Crystal elder sister found. Put her arms around Shenki's shoulder. Is it beautiful? Her lip color is light, so Sister Jing chose the most classic male color for her, and put the color like peach on her moist lips. Now she was bitten by her bay tooth, and her pink lips seemed to be magical, which gripped the eyes of the nighting porch tightly. Shenki is indeed more beautiful than before. The exquisite suit outlines her figure, with a thin waist and a material on her chest. Her tight and tight arms are a pair of straight legs and high heels. With temperament, there is still something missing. Nighting porch eyes light up, slipped her pink lips pause. A moment later moved to fall on her eyes. When her eyes looked at her, she was timid and weak, like a kitten abandoned in the street looking for her owner for several days. How could she follow him to the party? Thinking of this, the nighting porch thin lips gently hook, smile some ridicule. Barely. Shenki's heart was amazing when he saw that he was turned into this, but I didn't expect the evaluation given by Nighting Chuan to be like this. Yes. What's your opinion? She's not suitable for this makeup at all. Nighting Chuan attacked Shenki, and began to attack Jingji. Sister Jing paused to react. Not appropriate. How is that possible? I don't have much time. I don't have time to listen to your explanations. Get in the car. Say that finish. Nighting porch looked back. And his face looked at the front coldly. That looked like think of yourself as a king nothing. This way he makes Shenki a little angry. Why should he directly deny what others have carefully prepared? Is it so difficult to praise? Shenki's previous fundus scowled to suddenly disappear. His fist tightened silently. Then bit his lower lip and stared angrily at the nighting porch. As Shenki, Jingji found that her beautiful eyes were filled with angry light. But it was this angry light that made her whole person glow. And those beautiful eyes were like shining lights. Sister Jing looked at her, then at the nighting pavilion, and suddenly thought of something and laughed. She is silly. Nighting Chuan is not a simple person. Thinking of this, Sister Jing patted Shenki on the shoulder. Well, get on the bus quickly, Sister Jing. Thank you today. Before leaving, Shenki thanked Jingji, and then reluctantly got on the bus. The door closed and Shenki sat down beside her. The faint fragrance that belongs to her suddenly occupied the space inside the car, and also got into the nighting porch's breath with the air. The faint perfume with a woman's body fragrance. Makes taste is extremely light but refreshing. Nighting porch found slightly. He doesn't like women wearing perfume, especially strong perfume. However, the smell of Shenki actually made him feel very comfortable and subconsciously deepened his breathing. Such as nighting porch realized that they have this kind of action, just suddenly returned to absolute being. What's the smell? He asked coldly. Shanghai she recovered and pointed to himself asking me. Is there anyone else here? Bad tone. Shanghai the driver driving in front and Zhao Susha. Although they have a low sense of existence, they should be barely counted as people, right? Well, Sister Jing said that this perfume was just developed by her and she thought it was suitable for me. So she gave me a bottle. Say that finish, Shenki will also take out the perfume and show it to the nighting porch, completely forgetting what the nighting porch just said to her. Night Mozhuang looked at the bottle of perfume, and a faint pink liquid was flowing in the bottle. Shenki was afraid that she couldn't see clearly, so she leaned forward for a while. And her collar was slightly open, revealing a piece of white skin. Nighting porch looked up and saw a large spring scenery on her chest, and her eyes were gold. Did this woman do it on purpose? However, it seems unintentional to see her innocent expression and hold a perfume bottle in front of him. Night Mozhuang suddenly reacted. How could a woman who marries at night by hook or by crook like this be unintentional? Shenki lifted eyes, unknown soul. Nighting eyes a move. Fell on her chest. Shenki looked down his eyes, only to find himself leaning forward just now, his collar slipping, revealing a piece of white on his chest. She covered her chest with her backhand, leaned back, her white cheeks suddenly turned red. Her moist lips trembled to explain something, but she couldn't say a word when she reached her lips. The inky eyes of Mozhuang at night made her embarrassed. Shenki just wanted to get into the scene at the moment. She really didn't mean it. She just wanted to show him the bottle of perfume after all. He asked, but she didn't expect the collar of this dress to be so wide, just leaning forward a little bit to become like this. The nighting porch impression of her must be worse. Blushing cheeks turned from red to white. Shenki looked out of the window and put the bottle in his hand. Hold the perfume tightly. She didn't mean to seduce her. Through the rearview mirror, the nighting pavilion saw her face turn from red to white, and there was injustice in her eyes. Wrong demand wronged her, but what is it that she does, showing her chest to a man on her own initiative? Instead of seducing. The car quickly reached the banquet. Just after getting off the bus, Shenki tried to push him forward, but was rejected by the cold voice of Mozhuang. I have something to do. You should go to General Manager Lu first. Mozhuang looked back and gave her a deep look. Remember, don't bend your head or else. Needless to say, the last sentence was a threat. After what happened before, Shenki certainly knew what he meant and nodded awkwardly. I know, don't worry, I'm not as miserable as you think. Nighting porch lip angle gently pull, fundus with a mock. Obviously just don't believe what she said. Shenki bit his lower lip and clenched his fists, angrily saying, I promise with my personality. Nighting porch is still like that. Let Xiaosu push him away. Shenki had to a person alone into the party. All the people who came to the party were prominent figures. Shenki passed several women, smelled their strong perfume and saw their necks. The diamond necklace worn on the table, and the exclusive design of the dress skirt. This dress of hers disappeared in the crowd, so to speak. What banquet has Shengqi attended? So she had no idea where to find Manager Lu, so she had to find a place by herself, and then sat down and took out her mobile phone to search for information about that Manager Lu. Just because you can't find it now doesn't mean you won't have a chance to meet later. Now take the opportunity to get to know it first, and if you see it later, you can still do what you like. Shengqi sat there with the mobile phone and watched it carefully, without paying attention to the surrounding situation. After the music sounded, Shengqi Aiki suddenly came to my mind and glanced at my mobile phone to realize that the time for the banquet was over half. Shengqi Duan took a few mouthfuls of cocktails in front of him, then got up and searched. Strange, where did he go? Why haven't you come back after so long? Shengqi suddenly saw another familiar figure. It was she who had just repeatedly checked the information of the Lushai Group's manager Lu Ordinary. From nothing to the present Lushai Group, although Lushai Group is no better than Yes Hai, it is also famous in Biaichen. He is single, a little romantic, likes to play with celebrities in the circle, but after getting it, he throws it away and likes to fight with people. Playing chess and, most importantly, this is embarrassing. Shengqi wanted to do what she wanted, but found that she didn't fit in at all. I wonder if I can get some benefits by going as an assistant to the president of Yes Hai. Thought of here, Shengqi picked up the cup in front of him and decided to propose a toast to him first. And reached the position where Lu was just now, only to find that he hugged a woman in a long blue dress and went outside. Shengqi had to catch up quickly, follow them to the banquet hall. And in a small garden, Shengqi finally saw Lu Unusual again. Just want to go to a conversation. Lu Unusual suddenly holding the woman in her arms. Bowed their heads and kissed it. Well, Manager Lu, you hate it. The woman made a charming noise in his arms and Lu gave a little laugh. Shengqi didn't expect that he could see such a scene. And then he looked away with a red face. She was afraid that others would see her, but at this time, she should not go out again. She could only wait behind a big tree, and she was bored. Shengqi also took a few drinks with wine. I don't know how long I waited. Shengqi finished the wine in the cup, and it's not over there. Shengqi's face was calm, but the pink on her face showed her inner embarrassment. And she waited for a while then. The boarder just ended hastily. Then you must come to see someone tomorrow night, so I will go first, don't worry, baby. You are so charming, I will definitely come to see you again tomorrow night. The woman reluctantly pestered him for a while before leaving. Lu Chen waited for the woman to leave. Then he smoked a cigarette and slowly arranged his clothes. Come out. Hearing this, Shengqi got a fright and clenched the cup in his hand. She heard that the corner was found? No, where is she listening to the corner? I saw it by accident, but it was discovered now. Is she going out? People are gone, so don't hide. What do you want me to find you myself? Lu Unusual low laugh, and then turned around. Shengqi took a step back when he saw that his direction was towards it. A cold voice rang from another direction. Manager Lu really knows how to play, and he is so interested in acting on the ground. Xiao Su pushed the Nighting Porch out from the other side. Shengqi saw him, subconsciously stare big eyes. Why is he here? Don't Nighting Porch just witness that a living erotic palace? Thought of here, Shengqi more embarrassed. Hope Nighting Hien don't know she's here, otherwise. Oh, it's more emotional to be on the ground, but I don't think I can understand it at night. Lu Unusual eyes rested on the Nighting Hien's leg. Xiao Su picked his eyebrows. Just want to get angry. Night Mojuan's face was as usual. And the cold voice replied, I really can't understand it. Even if I want to play, I will only play with clean women. Second minus Han Chenji. Shengqi hiding behind the leaves Nima. Does he know that she is here? So you deliberately said these words to slander her? Lu was not angered by Mojuan's words at night. He evoked a smile. In fact, I really want to know, is there little ability to eat at night? Still talking about second minus hand, not second minus hand. Xiao Su gnashed her teeth. Do you want to lose your chrysanthemum? Asking such a question, I thought you wanted to lose your job. How could you ask us less questions at night, Nani? Lu Unusual, a face of Meng force, he just wants to ridicule the Nighting Porch disabled. And incompetent, when want to say that you want to be that what? This assistant, really annoying. Shengqi is speechless. I didn't expect Xiao Su's thoughts to be so rotten. Lu Unusual dazed for a moment, began to fight back. A master makes a move, but a move is fatal. Now it's Xiao Su's turn to choke. Lu Unusual has been looking to the Nighting Porch face. If I had known that night would be less. I should have visited you first when I came to the party. Night Mojuan's eyes are calm and indifferent. It's unnecessary to visit. Shengqi listened far away. It was dark. She was wearing a skirt again tonight. Just standing here for a while has attracted many mosquitoes. Now her calf is itchy with mosquito bites. She can't help but reach for it, but if you catch it you have to bend over, and bending over will make a sound. If you make a noise, people will find you. After this scrutiny, Shengqi didn't dare to bend over at all, so she had to endure it forcibly. But then the itch was unbearable, so she had to bend down and grab it, just touching the leaves and making a noise. The smile on Lu's lips faded away, and he took 2 steps in her direction. Who is there? Shengqi was too scared to move. Night Mojuan's eyes are old and cold and cold. There's no need for Manager Lu to make such a fuss, right? Lu's unusual steps stopped. Is it the wind, or are there few people who want to protect them at night? But his eyes were calm and he was more angry. I am really interested in people who can protect each other at night. The two confronted each other. It was the Nighting Pavilion. The gas field on her body was so overwhelming that Lu Unusual sneered. After a while, Lu Unusual evoked her lips. I have long heard that the night is not simple. Now I have seen it really extraordinary, and I have to go to find a little beauty today. I won't be with you. Help yourself. After Lu Unusual left, Shengqi kept the original posture and was about to explore. Lu Unusual left. And then he waited for the Nighting Porch to leave. However, Shengqi waited for a long time, and the Nighting Pavilion didn't have a tendency to leave. And waited for a while. Shengqi fast insist on not to live. Finally heard the Nighting Porch way. Are you going to install ostriches there? Listen, Shengqi hardened and surprised. Pop one fell to the ground. What person? Xiao Su stared big eyes and rushed over to see Shengqi. Why are you here? Shengqi action has been stiff, just sitting against the tree. The cup in her hand on the leaves. She gently rubbed her deformed leg bitten by mosquitoes, and gave Xiao Su a helpless look. It turned out that it was you that Lu Ordinary said just now. Night Mojuan pushed the wheelchair over and stared at her sitting on the ground condescending. Get up. Although she was reluctant, she stood up. I asked you to find Manager Lu, and you came to see the restricted love. What? Shengqi stared big eyes. white cheeks suddenly red. He actually know. Wouldn't that mean he also been side watching for half a day before? Thinking of this, Shenki subconsciously said. Nai Tingshuan narrowed his eyes, so this is an admission. Shang Qiuqi came to my senses and quickly waved his hand. No, I didn't mean to peek. It's just that when I found him, I was afraid of being discovered by him, so I hid behind the tree for a while. Outside the crowded banquet hall, that's all. I didn't expect it or did it on purpose. Would you not know his situation and personality in advance? Or do you say? Yi Mozhuan's eyes suddenly intensified and her voice was cold. Do you think Wu Tongcheng is your next target? Shang Qi finally understood what the words of Yi Mozhuan meant. Isn't that to say, easy virtue wants to seduce men when she sees them? However, Lu unusual is good in both person and family background, so Yi Mozhuan thinks that he has been targeted by Shang Qi. At the moment when I figured it out, Shang Qi's face turned from red to white. I know you look down on me, but don't be so insulting, right? I am also dignified, are you? How much is your dignity worth? Night Mozhuan mercilessly trampled her dignity under your feet. Shang Qi stared big eyes. It's unbelievable that this man is so bad that he said all the taunts in front of her, but he can protect her from the wind and drain and give her enough face in front of others. What kind of person is he?